right. Docs chat. There we go. There we go. I'll just wait a little bit. Move to the side here. There we go. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. We'll start here in a minute. Make sure everything's working properly. Post a thumbnail later. Excuse me. Right. Make sure everything's working properly. Okay, we are good to go. Let's make sure that I am in the correct Twitch category. I'd hate to do that again. Okay, we're good to go. All right. What is up, guys? Hope everybody's doing well. This is a random ad hoc stream for me. I don't have a normal schedule by any means. I've been busy. I've been really busy. I don't want to get too much into my real life stuff, but my wife and I have been house hunting, and so my time to make videos and stream in the evenings, you just get worn out. And so I've taken a small step back, but I got some time this week for a completely different reason. So I had some free time this week. Figure I'd live stream. Today we are just going to watch some Ashes of Creation videos. I want to get... So I just completely froze here. My bad. I just wanted to make sure everything is still functioning right. So the reason we're doing this video today is if you are in the Ashes of Creation space, a few people reacted to Jimmy's video a few days ago. I watched parts of them, and then I was like, okay, well, I mean, they're opinions on the internet. I'm going to leave it alone. This is his opinion. This is somebody else's opinion, whatever. But then, like, I saw Vladis post his video, and then he took it down, and then he submitted an apology today, and I watched part of that, and now I'm just like, okay, well, what the hell's going on? Like, I didn't watch all of Vladis's original video, and now he's taken it down and he's apologized, and I haven't watched the original Jimmy video, and so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, well, I'll watch that, and I decided to watch that because Nyce sent me another video today that I should also be checking out. It's from Blue Squadron. I guess he did a react video, and I'm supposed to be watching this and reacting for the first time. So we're gonna do those two. I figured I could also watch Richie's video because Richie said he did a video very similar to mine. So we got 3 videos to look at, and if people are having fun, cool. If they're not, we'll just end the stream and we'll call it a day. So first of all, good to see everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been a little bit. Contours, thank you for this subscribe. Appreciate it. Got all sorts of little alerts here. Thank you guys so much. Okay. Okay, so we're going to watch this video. Which one is this one? Okay, so this is Jimmy's video. Yeah, I've seen a few people respond to this. I have not seen the full details. I figured we'd watch it. I'd provide my opinion. We'll move on, and then we'll watch Blue Squadrons. And then if we have enough time, we'll watch Richie's, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, let's just get some popcorn, I guess, and hang out. I hope you guys enjoy this. We'll pull this up. We got the ad for better health, as you should.
Therapist who goes to therapy. And some people think that's strange. The thing is, though, therapists are human beings.
I've been on this spree of trying basic.
Okay, so I don't know much about Jimmy. Like actually, I don't know anything. I haven't seen a single one of his videos. A few of my other content creator friends have. They say he's a pretty good content creator in his own right. So yeah, let's check it out.
Every major MMO recently, and it got me thinking, and I might be the first one to ever have this thought, but I don't think we're getting another good MMO for a while.
Okay.
Other games that come out, they follow a very similar life cycle. A big mountain slope. You start out at the top, everyone's talking about the game, and it kind of just slopes down and loses its player base over time. I mean, it's a typical life cycle for a game, very natural. MMORPGs, on the other hand, follow a very different looking life cycle. They come in all shapes and sizes. They might start out with a bang, they might start out at the bottom and work their way up. But basically, the way you know if an MMO is good and it had any sort of success, long term, over the span of many years, it kind of looks like a real fucked up EKG. Like it's the game's pulse or something. Never healthy or stable, but it's there, which is what counts. It's been quite a while since we've seen a real banger of an MMO. It kind of...
So I will say, New World falls in that first genre where it has the big hype and then it just kind of trails off. It's the only, out of all the MMOs I've seen, out of all the charts I've seen, that one actually follows most closely to this. This has been my belief on MMOs for a while. I think the genre is in a very shitty spot at the moment. I think it's in a very shitty spot, where you're at a point basically where the best games are 10 years plus old. It's just not great, Bob. Not great. Like, why can't anybody else come out with anything competitive right now? It makes no sense to me.
Feels like the MMO industry has always just been this game of king of the hill, and the ones at the top have ascended so high that there's really no catching up to them. It's really hard to imagine them being dethroned, and there's not going to be many that try. Because not only is developing a massive multiplayer online role-playing game one of the hardest things you can do as a video game developer, but it's also probably the dumbest thing you can do. We can't go into something like that until I tell you about something that someone's going to pay me to tell you about. So, 2023 was full of health issues for me, which led to the thing I love about it, clarity. And I've always struggled with sustained day, and I drank it. It's a very year supply of vitamin. Me thinking about this the most came from a situation that's been kind of brewing up.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. I've tried out AG1. It's not bad.
Up over the last 3 years. In June 2021, Riot Games put a post up on their website calling for any game developers that are wanting to enter the world of MMORPGs with them. And this was amazing news because it's pretty common knowledge at this point that Riot Games tends to not miss. The things they've been making, pretty good. Well, the MMO community was welcoming them with open arms. If you've kept up with the MMO world in the last 3-4 years, you know that the community is kind of still waiting for that game to come along that's just going to change everything. There was no real official news released for the next 2 years. The only set-in-stone thing we got was that Greg Street, who was the producer of the project, was leaving the company. Pretty soon after, he announced that he was launching his own company, making his own MMO. It was just very disappointing because he was extremely involved in the community and just had a lot of indicators that he really cared about this and was going to do his best to make it an actual game-changing, enjoyable MMO. Obviously hope for the best. But now about a year later, there's whispers and rumors that this Riot MMO might not even be happening, which honestly would be the least surprising thing I've heard.
Yeah, so here's the funny thing about the Riot MMO. A lot of people that I talk to, either my own friends or people on my channel or other content creators, everybody justifiably has been excited about the Riot MMO. And they're like, yeah, you know, there's a really good chance the Riot MMO could take the place by storm. The Riot MMO is going to come out and it's going to do really well. And my stance every time I've heard that is I've gone, hey, I'm not going to have any hype for the Riot MMO until we have more information than calling it the Riot MMO. We don't even have a freaking title. And I get it. I get it. It's coming from a company that has literally delivered on just about everything. And so people are excited that a company that delivers is making another game. I totally understand. It's completely warranted. But at the same time, I can't tell you how many times on my channel, like I've covered a video game, and people are like, oh, you need to talk about the Riot MMO. You need to talk about the Riot MMO. It's like, bro, what is there to talk about? There's nothing to talk about yet. And yeah, last year kind of sucked when they said that they were going to reset it. I obviously want, like, whatever this game is, I'd love for it to come out. I have not read this. I saw the Greg Street stuff from last year, and I know he's making his own game and everything, and I wish him the best of luck. I'll obviously check that one out as well. I haven't seen this tweet yet. Resetting our development path also means we'll be going dark for a long time, likely several years. Okay, yeah. Silence will help provide space for the team to focus on the incredible amount of work ahead of them. We understand the excitement and anticipation that surrounds new information, but we ask for your trust during this silent phase. Remember, no news is good news, as it means we're hard at work, pouring our hearts and souls into making something that we hope you'll love. Okay.
In the last 3 hours, at least. Riot Games has set a huge bar for themselves, which has raised everybody's expectations for everything they ever make. I can't tell you in confidence whether or not this game's happening or not. What I can tell you without a doubt is that it has been a bumpy ride behind the scenes. And if you'd like to see what Riot is most likely fearing, if you look up New World's player count history and see how that unfolded, you can see just how risky it is to release an MMO in the modern era of gaming. I've got around 760 hours played on New World and was a part of the community during the rise and fall of it. And I also saw how quickly that new and refreshing ideas can completely drain the life out of a player base if done incorrectly. New World's game design caught up with itself. Not really sure how long that game's gonna be up for. Probably some of the most fun I've had gaming during its peak. And I really wish things were handled differently so that it wasn't in the condition it's in now. It was a good game with some crucial things wrong with it, ended up being the reason for its downfall. An MMO can only handle so many mistakes, to the point where even a company that gets their funds from Amazon themselves can't really do anything for you anymore. So there's been some sprinkles of MMO here and there. A lot of
no, I have a similar amount of hours to Jimmy. I guess I'm just under 1,000. I think I'm just under 1,000 on New World, 900 something. And yeah, my take on New World is, you know, I'm sure you guys have heard this 1,000 times. I've had a lot of fun playing it. I've had a lot of fun playing New World. I got my hours out of it. There's not a ton of repeatable content at endgame. The issue that you have with New World is it caters to a narrow group of individuals right now. Basically, people that are willing to torture themselves to get to endgame, that are willing to grind through absolutely shitty quest lines to quest and level up and go through all that, not really experience any part of the world because everybody else is at endgame, eventually get there and then enjoy the endgame content. So enjoy the few dungeons that it has, enjoy the one raid that it has, and enjoy the PvP. If you can do that, there's a good chance that you'll probably get 700 to 2,000 hours out of New World, and you'll have a lot of fun doing it. But the problem with that is you're eliminating everybody that wants to start off as, you know, a new beginner player. Like if you want to be just a casual, the game sucks. The questing is just awful. And I don't mean like the game overall sucks, but for that specific group of people, it's not good. If you want to be like an end game player, you have a shelf life because they haven't brought out a new OPR. They haven't brought out a new arena. They haven't brought out a new trial. I've thought about doing a video on this, but I watched one of their dev updates from a few months ago, and one of the developers came out and made a comment that said that, yeah, the reason we haven't been doing PvP stuff is there's not as many PvPers as there is PvEers. And that one really has just been ringing in my head for a couple of weeks now, because when I would go into arenas, I would get into queues right away. I would get into queues almost instantly every single night, and queues are relegated to your specific area. And it would be very, very fast. I would find new people all the time. If I wanted to do a specific expedition in New World, there would be, during the peak, if it was good, there'd be maybe 3 queues. So 4 people, so it's 12 people total. Sometimes I'd log on at night and there's nobody running the queue for a specific expedition. And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, these PvE players that outnumber, and keep in mind, like, arenas is just one aspect of PvP. There's also open world PvP. There's also OPRs. There's all sorts of other PvP. But I would say in general, the last time I was playing, arena players outnumbered expedition players on my specific platform, in my specific server. And so it got me thinking, like, okay, well, what are you talking about? What are you talking about by saying that PvE players outnumber PvP players? Because I wasn't seeing it. They're definitely not playing the one trial that exists. I never saw that run the entire time I was playing. I'm not saying it didn't run, but like I never saw people looking for group for this. I never saw a queue up for it. It just, like, there's just very few people there. So that's your big end game PvE content, and people weren't running it. So it led me to believe, to jump to the conclusion, okay, you mean overland PvE players. You mean casuals that are out there in the world farming, they're collecting, they're harvesting. So you're not doing content for endgame players anymore. You're going to do content for new players. You're going to do content for people that like to collect things for their house. You're going to do content for people that like to quest. They just redid the main story quest line. All this makes sense, but to me, when you look at it from that lens, New World is essentially, they're going to batten down the hatches, and maybe they come out with new stuff when they go to the console release and everything. But I think basically they're in money salvage mode right now. I think they're looking at what they've done, the money they invested, the money they've gotten back, and they're like, you know what? We're going to trim around the edges of all the things that have cost us money, and we're going to do the things that we know will generate us money. And we're just going to stay in our specific lane for this, and we're going to go this route. Which is fine, because I've been waiting for them to choose a lane for a couple of years now. They haven't gone a PvE or PvP route. There's not many expeditions. There's only one trial. There's, like I said, there's one OPR. There's one arena. Pick a fucking lane and go with it, right? Like, choose something for players to latch onto. So yeah, I agree. I sorry for the rant there, but I kind of felt like I had to.
A lot of underwhelming Kickstarter projects, some that are in a permanent early access phase, ones that scam hundreds of thousands of dollars somehow. But in the last like 5 years, I think New World and Lost Ark are the only 2 MMOs that can claim they've had any kind of success. I've never played Lost Ark before. I tried looking up some stuff to get some more insight about it, but just like any MMO you try to get information on, it's players that have hundreds or thousands of hours just complaining about things, not giving any real insight to the casual experience of the game. What I can tell you is that it's nowhere near competing with the top dogs of the MMO world. So between Riot's situation and New World's fumble, it got me thinking, why is this so hard? What is going on?
Yeah.
Making an MMO has to be the most irresponsible, stupidest idea you could ever go through with. In the last 10 years, there have been 20 MMOs notable enough to make the Wikipedia page, and 12 of those are still up and running. Obviously.
See which ones. Alien, New World, came on Chain. Okay. Yeah, that is a death's row. That is a death's row of video games right there. Yikes. He's not wrong.
Obviously, there's been more than 20 MMOs released, but I'm just not counting the ones that Josh Strife Hayes finds buried in the deepest depths of the deep web that peaked at 23 concurrent players. They don't really count right now. It's definitely a dark age. Now, I would say when World of Warcraft went live in 2004, that is when the true golden age started. Some may say that when Ultima Online came out, it kind of changed the game. I don't really think an MMO golden age existed without WoW. It doesn't feel right to me. WoW did for MMOs what Fortnite did to Battle Royales. Because you may have noticed once Fortnite saw success in its little side game mode of Battle Royale that wasn't even what they wanted their players to try, caused about 55 to 100 others to emerge. Once WoW showcased that you can build a long-term player base with as much success as it had, with as much money as it generated, not only with its initial launch in 2004, but with its expansions in 2007 and on, I mean, how do you not convince investors to let you try and build another WoW. So once this golden age started, much like the Battle Royale boom, we also got a few really, really good games to emerge alongside WoW. They're still here, people playing them. We also got an overwhelming amount of stinkers, some real stinkers that are not around anymore. MMOs were peaking in the mid-2000s. It was the thing to do. It was the style of game that players wanted to play. Even the project.
Yeah, so I do agree with this. I don't think you can have a golden age without World of Warcraft. I think that makes complete sense. There isn't another game that I can think of that has had a cultural impact in the same way World of Warcraft has. I mean, South Park has its own episode about World of Warcraft. That's how big World of Warcraft was at its peak. It was actually gaining interest from outside of the gaming space. It was pulling so many people in. When I was in the military, I had lots of people in my unit that would, when we get done with our training for that day, I had 4 or 5 people in my specific unit that would go home and they'd play World of Warcraft. That's what they wanted to do. Like, yeah, I was like, dude, you're gonna go home and play video games? Like, fuck yeah, man. We're gonna go home and play World of Warcraft. We're gonna do this. So yeah, that's how big it was. Like, everybody knew what World of Warcraft is. Like, it's not the same for other video games. And so yeah, I completely agree.
Projects that saw short-term success but didn't really survive. Some still, to this day, have community-backed projects, private servers, to keep the community alive. All these MMO games meant a lot to people. They proved to be this genre of game that you truly did become a part of. And even though the MMO scene was kind of slowing down in the late 2000s, early 2010s, games like Guild Wars 2 and Star Wars The Old Republic made their entry into the MMO scene and kind of picked up the stragglers that maybe weren't really happy with their games anymore or didn't really scratch the itch they wanted, and were still able to give a lot of players their home base of a game. 2013 unknowingly became the grand finale of MMOs. It was the year of revival, because in February we got old school RuneScape, and in August we got Final Fantasy XIV, both of them existing for the sake of redemption. RuneScape's main game was at an all-time low. Final Fantasy's first MMO, like 3 or 4 years earlier, was a huge flop, so both these companies basically tried again. And now 11 years later, it's safe to say that both of them did something right.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Since then, there's been a few notable MMOs that have come out, and they did okay. Elder Scrolls Online, Albion Online, Black Desert Online. These games are online, in case you were wondering. Lost Ark, New World, but none of them really made the impact they were probably hoping for. It's
Man, that is crazy looking at total sales. Or
Desert
players.
Online. These games are online, in case you were wondering. Lost Ark, New World. But
dude, the fact that you have these two games that started so much later and have already passed Black Desert, and they're like, I mean, New World flopped. Obviously, I've said it quite a bit, but the fact that in the 3 years that it's existed, it's caught up to ESO that quickly. Holy cow! I didn't know that it was actually that close. Like, I didn't think it was that close at all.
But none of them really made the impact they were probably hoping for. It's almost as if all players interested in MMOs have kind of found their place and stayed there. It really is kind of like finding your home base, and that's just where you retreat back to at the end of the day. We're all kind of safe and cozy in our MMOs right now, kind of making the most of it. But even though the kings are up there on that hill, it doesn't mean they're resting up there comfortably. The wrong mistake could send them tumbling down at any moment. Those profitable, successful games up there, they got up there with blood, sweat, and dev tears. A lot of mostly dev tears. We now have insight to another reason of why creating an MMO is a really dumb idea. Money.
Okay.
Microtransactions have played a significant role in keeping these games alive. They've got to pay a staff to maintain and update and create for the game so that they keep their players there. They've got to pay for these massive servers. I don't even know how much those things cost. And also making sure that they meet the quota so that the very top executive owner of the company gets the salary that they've written for themselves.
Question, is jagex milking their players? Well, yeah, it's quite a big question.
And whatever they need to do to get there is what they gotta do. Subscriptions by themselves cannot sustain an MMO. It could pay for WoW in 2007 when everybody was paying a $15 a month subscription on top of buying a $40 expansion every other year, but even that caught up. They have a shit ton of microtransactions, and obviously that's more of a problem for the MMOs that make it big and they have all of these expenses, but any game that sees this big success is going to eventually run into this problem of how do we afford to keep this going. Back at my home base, I give jagex a lot of money every year through subscriptions. I pay for my subscriptions on multiple accounts, as do other people, and jagex makes millions off of players giving them monthly subscription money. But you may have noticed while we're over here frolicking in our flowers of polls and community involvement and fun, our brothers and sisters over at RuneScape 3 cannot say the same.
Is jagex actually this oblivious? We're in a time where RuneScape, at least according to the majority of the vocal player base, feels like it's being neglected, and as someone who's been covering the news and following the game actively for years now, I also think it's being neglected. How does a company with hundreds of employees and, according to the most recently released financial statements, £137 million in revenue, have the audacity to recolor a 3-year-old outfit and sell it as part of some kind of limited edition pack?
RuneScape 3 has been...
So I think he's already, we'll see if he gets to it. But I think he's already answering his own question here. Like why is this genre so bad? It's because it's clearly very easy to make money off of monetization. Like these games wouldn't be sprouting up and existing and attempting to come out with all these different, monetization, crown store, whatever, like in-game currency stores. If this wasn't so profitable, you wouldn't see so many video games attempt to do so. Like you wouldn't see all these games sprout up attempting to do this. Yeah, we haven't had a good MMO in 10 years, but how many MMOs are coming out every single year? How many attempts at a new MMO are people trying to make, and then they have an in-game store for this reason? And so yeah, I think, I mean, I can't speak on old school RuneScape, obviously. I'm not going to. I will say for ESO, they started off with a crown store, I want to say 2017 or 2018, somewhere around there. So they did their crown store, and it's gotten to a point in that game where over 95% of the mounts, I watched a video, I can't remember exactly what it is, but over 95% of the mounts you can only purchase. You don't quest for them, you don't go and do dungeons, you don't randomly find them along your way, you buy them. And so you have all these really cool things for character specialization, and all the coolest character specialization things are hidden behind a paywall. And I'm not saying that games shouldn't make money or anything like that. Obviously, I paid ESO for years. I had multiple accounts where I paid ESO Plus on PlayStation, on PC and Xbox, where I would play both, and it was worth it for me because I would have access, and I was more than happy to do that. And when the occasional Crown Store item popped up, I would get something because it's like, okay, cool. Like I like this. This looks good. But it gets to a point to where it becomes oversaturated, where a game realizes that they don't have to pump out new content anymore. All they have to do is pump out new skins and reskins. And they realize that a lot of people just want to spend time in a house, and they want to spend time in a house, and they want to put, new costumes on, and they want to run around on a new horse, and they want to redecorate their house, and they want to do all these sorts of things. And none of that is questing. None of that is a storyline, because that's where the main player base that makes you the most money is at. And so they just cater to that player base. Should have seen the ESO 10-year anniversary mount. Wow, is it ugly? Oh, is it bad? Hold on. What's going on, Patton? Let me look it up. ESO 10-year anniversary mount. Is it this horse thing? This Jubilee steed? Sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna pull it over here. Is it this bad boy? Anniversary event mount, the Jubilee steed. Looks like a Barbie. It does look like a Barbie pony. Yes. Yes, it does. At least it looks different. All I'll say is at least it looks different than the reskin of like their Indrik or one of their Guars. But yeah, that's not great. No, I agree. Yeah, it's, I don't know. I do agree. I do agree here. Like, obviously, video games need to make their money. I think this is why MMOs are constantly making MMOs, even though they take 10 years of development, even though they get here. It's because they know these in-game stores, if they have something going for them, just print money.
Been contaminated with regularly updated, toxic cash-grabbing microtransactions. It's experiencing increments of worse. Players just begging the devs to please stop, as if the devs have any control over it. RuneScape 3 is the soldier spreading its arms, protecting us from projectiles, while we sleep soundly, telling the devs that we're not fond of this idea they think they're having. But what I'm trying to say is that even old school RuneScape, as one of the most populated MMORPGs in modern gaming, only exists because RuneScape 3 offers microtransactions. Because what you've spent on old school RuneScape membership subscriptions in the last 6 years, 10 people spent that same amount yesterday on RuneScape 3 keys. Those are the players that jagex needs, not you, not me. MMOs are expensive to make and they're expensive to maintain, which
At least they're giving away boxes, housing, DLCs as daily rewards. What's up, else? Hope the family's doing well. Yeah, we're doing better, G.I. Joe. I'm good to see you too, by the way. My family got COVID this week, but we're on the way up. We're on the way up. So yeah, and I agree. I've actually been seeing that on Twitter quite a bit, that their monthly rewards and a bunch of other things that they've come out with have been a lot better. I should have said that. I absolutely should have said that. But yes, their rewards this last year have been a lot better. I don't want to always be criticizing a game. I want to give them their dues when, you know, they do the good things. And I think the way ESO handled their monthly rewards and the way ESO handled their crash issue with PTS a few weeks ago was very, very good, in my opinion. Rewarding all the people who got, I think they lost their account temporarily and they had to be reset. Rewarding them with everything that they did, I think was the smart way to go about doing it. I thought that was very good. HD, what's going on?
By the way, whoever over at Amazon Games thought that a one-time purchase of a $40 game was going to be enough to sustain a huge MMO, what are you doing? What did you think was going to happen? And then who decided that microtransactions were going to be your next alternative? And this is what you have in the store.
I'm Andrea, founder of a boutique handbag brand, Andy, and
they practically begged to not make money.
Yeah. New World style was awful for a long time. It was awful. And it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Their character creator wasn't very good. I still stand by the fact that I think the combat for New World is quite solid. I will say the performance with the amount of people that are in an area is quite solid, but they just never really committed to any one thing. And yeah, their costumes are just, oh boy.
What's fucking brackin', baby?
He's hit hard with a hammer.
The biggest problem that new MMOs are going to face are getting a true player base. Not the players that are there on day one seeing how long they can wait in a queue. Not even the ones that invest 200 hours and experience a little bit of endgame. I'm talking about the true player base. The player base that if your game shuts down, they will be on the front lines doing whatever they can to create their own version of your game, some sort of backup code to keep the community alive. Those are the players that you're looking for. They're there because they love the game. They're there for real. And those are going to be extremely difficult to get because chances are they already have that game. They're already a part of that community. And most of them aren't going to be feeling that way about multiple MMOs. At this point, new MMOs have to pull their player base from other MMOs. You're going to be trying to pull players from WoW and from Final Fantasy and from RuneScape and Guild Wars 2. The players that already know what they like and dislike about massive multiplayer online games, which means that by default, a new MMO is immediately competing with the top of that hill. Could you imagine trying to enter that space and these are the guys you're standing next to, trying to gain their players? Good luck. The best kind of player base to get for a brand new MMO is a new MMO player. Ones that haven't experienced the other ones yet, and you're going to be their first experience, which would mean trying to appeal to the iPad babies, the TikTok brains, the fucking Fortnite Warzoners. You know, the ones that can't even hold their attention to short form content unless there is a video below the main content that has some car surfing on ramps so that their weird brains allow them to stay there. Dude, drop a 14-year-old into vanilla WoW Northshire and see how long it takes for their brains to start freaking out because there's not enough colors and numbers. The generation following us is not gonna really be interested in this slower paced MMO style that we fell in love with. Why would they run around Elwyn Forest or go kill goblins in Lumbridge when in that same time frame they could have had 3 adrenaline pumping Warzone games to feel dopamine from? They don't chase the same numbers going up that we do. It makes me wonder if the generation following us when they get to be our age, if they're going to be more interested in goal-oriented things like long-term MMO goals. I don't see new generations coming into MMOs, and I don't see current MMO players jumping to a new one when they've already established their community and love for one that they've been a part of for years.
So I don't think he's necessarily wrong here. I mean, it's tough. Like I understand his point of view. I actually agree with this quite a bit. I will say that there are a lot of people in all of those games that they will jump to any new MMO to try it out. And if you're jumping to a new MMO to try it out, I mean, you saw what New World was on day one. Imagine what New World could have been. And I know it's fluffy unicorn hairs and rainbows and shit, but imagine what it was if it didn't have the duping issue. Imagine what it was if it didn't have the performance issues, the invincibility issues, all the bugs that it initially had. Imagine if it actually released as a fully functioning game. Imagine if New World released with the content from this year. So instead of releasing in 2021, they released in 2024. I think when you look at it like that, which is another few years of development, even for Amazon, which is a millions more invested, a lot of the issues that you have with dealing with trying to climb this mountain that he's talking about of old school MMO games is they have decades of content, a decade plus of content that they have already worked on and built up and cultivated. And so it's easy. Players will play a new MMO, they'll enjoy it or not enjoy it, and they'll run out of content and they'll go back to their old game because there's just so much to do there. There's so much to do. And so I think it's going to take a specific type of game in order to reach that mountaintop. And I know he's talking about it soon because I've seen part of it. And but yeah, I do think I do agree with him that it's not easy and it's going to take time, but I think the right development team that starts off that makes a good game over years could get there. New MMORPGs are like the Seattle Mariners, while the bigger MMORPGs are like the ALEs. That's a good analogy. That is a good analogy.
Years. I think the current games that we have in the MMO space are going to remain there, at least for as long as both the players and the devs have that desire. In order for an MMO to take the reins, become the next big thing, to really be the game changer, it's going to have to be very outside the box. Never done before, a big risk. Chances are the next MMO to really overtake these or even see equal success as these hasn't even been thought of yet. But I just have this strange feeling that the next MMO that comes out that has 6 classes to choose from, a woodcutting skill, and 2004-ass fetch quests is not going to be the one to see themselves at the top of that hill with those. It's just a hunch. I don't know. This Ashes of Creation game I've seen talked about for like the last 3 years is supposedly going to be the MMO that changes everything. They had this dev blog come out at the end of March, and I was like, okay, this looks cool. And on the side of the screen, I see some quests about killing 20 goblins. And I'm like, no fucking way that this is the revolutionary thing. The next big MMO is not gonna have kill 20 goblins as a fucking quest, I promise. They've already lost in my eyes. There's just no way another one of those is gonna be the one to be up there. I don't know. There's a few things that I believe.
So, so apparently that's the line that set off the Ashes of Creation space into a frenzy. I don't disagree about fetch quests. I disagree with him about his overarching point about Ashes of Creation. We will talk about it, but I do agree that fetch quests are fucking garbage. I hate fetch quests. Absolutely hate them. When we had the commissions live stream, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember which live stream I was on or what who I was talking to, but I said this is a success for me if it's nothing like the New World town boards, because fetch quests are garbage. And so his repulsion towards fetch quests, I 100% agree with. I 100% agree that fetch quests shouldn't be a thing. Now, should you jump to a conclusion on an entire video game based off of something you saw in a pre-alpha 2 without knowing a little bit more? No, I disagree with that. I completely disagree with that. Like we saw in the commissions live stream, they do have part of their quest line, part of their smaller quests that you can do as a more beginner players, is they do have some fetch quests, but they develop into bigger things. So the one that they showed was you go out there and you kill minotaurs. You're supposed to kill minotaurs in the area. The world evolves around you. And so if you and people in your area kill enough minotaurs, you then actually pull in a minotaur leader that wants to fight you and destroy you and everything. And yeah, so it is a fetch quest, but it's not the typical go harvest 10 trees fetch quest. The way it's designed so far, that what we have seen is that it's the introductory quest to get you out there into the world, where then all of a sudden a bunch of other shit can happen. And so that's where I'm going to disagree with Jimmy here. I think if he saw that, yes, it is still an introductory fetch quest, and if you hate fetch quests that much, I totally get it. But it's not just kill 20 goblins or whatever they have on the side. Also, it's pre-alpha 2. They're still, we don't know, we haven't seen their main storyline. We haven't seen a lot of their world generated content because we're just so early to the project. And so that's all I want to say. That's all I want to say with respect to that is, I hate fetch quests as much as he does, but what they have actually shown with those beginner quest lines is it's a lot more in depth than just beginner fetch quests. And so if you're going to have them, at least they're better. That's the best thing I could say.
The next big MMO needs to do differently. I think the #1 priority is to come up with a structure that eliminates the locust swarm effect. Finish this as fast as possible. Get to max level as fast as possible. Get to the end game, the best in slot, the min-max.
Hidden Dagger in, what's going on? Okay, so this is going to be funny to look at, because I think what he's going to talk about here, I'm just going to say it. I have not seen this video yet, okay? So I have not seen it at all. I've seen that little clip from Vladis's video. I have a good feeling that what he's looking for in a game is actually going to be a big portion of the reason as to why I am excited about Ashes. I think a lot of them are going to line up, because I have had these same thoughts. I have not iterated them on a video nearly as well as he has. Like this video is great so far.
The one to be up there. No. There's a few things that I believe the next big MMO needs to do differently. I think the #1 priority is to come up with a structure that eliminates the locust swarm effect. Finish this as fast as possible. Get to max level as fast as possible. Get to the end game, the best in slot, the min-maxing as fast as possible. It's a real shitty habit that we've developed with video games, especially MMOs recently. I think it's played such a big role in the overall downfall of MMOs, why everything feels underwhelming now. Unfortunately, I think as long as a game structure exists,
yeah. I'm going to wait till he finishes what he's saying here, and then we'll go on.
That allows for that kind of mentality, it's not going to find the success that it would have found back when we weren't playing games like that, in the golden age of MMOs, when things were actually enjoyed. That's why we want to play games solo now. It's why you can get from level 1 to 70 playing by yourself in WoW. And that's not going to make for a successful MMO. You might as well just make a single player game. Other MMOs would benefit a lot.
Okay. Jimmy making the rounds. Yeah. I wasn't going to touch this. And then, yeah, I saw some stuff kind of happen, and I was like, okay, let's see what the hubbub is about. Let's talk about this part. So basically, what he's saying here is they need to break the mold of what they've done before, where everybody's racing to endgame. Everybody's attempting to race to endgame, get best in slot this, grind through all of the content to get to the best character. The best part about MMORPGs for a lot of players is player progression. You want to see your character be a big badass. I've talked to a few players on Discord that have played other games, that play a bunch of other MMORPGs. And one of the guys' opinion stood out to me quite a bit. He's like, yeah, when a game first releases, he goes, I will sweat that game really, really hard for the first week. He goes, I will put so many hours into that game, getting to end game, getting all the best gear, getting all this stuff. And he goes, and it gives me such a big head start over my competition that I basically just crush everybody for a good 2 to 3 months. I'll then tone it back, but I've already built my advantage. I've already established my advantage, and now I can just coast. And I think a lot of players fall into that mindset. And I think part of that, what that entails, is a lot of MMORPGs are currently more theme park-esque. You have theme park style MMOs to where you go, hey, you're going to go into this area, you're going to complete this content, you've graduated, you then go into the next area, you do the next content, you have now graduated, and you keep going to the next ride. You go to the next ride, you go to the next ride. And so everybody's waiting for the final ride. They want to get to the final ride where they get all their final gear. And a game that is going to break this loop of, like, the mountain that he showed, we're at 18 minutes here. Let's just remember we're at 18 minutes exactly. This mountain that he showed right here. If you want to catch up with this mountain, in order to do this, in my opinion, you need to have content that can compete with this mountain. And that's really hard to do. Like you already talked about, World of Warcraft is 2 decades old. It's 2 decades old. You have RuneScape also. It's like, what, 15 years? Elder Scrolls Online is 10 years, 11 years, 10 years. So you have decades of content, of quarterly, yearly releases that you have to compete with as a new game. You don't have the developers, you don't have the money, you don't have the ability to fork out content that can compete from day one with this group in the same way. If you do a theme park style MMO, you will not compete with them because you do not have the capabilities of making this content. New World showed that doing a theme park MMO, even with Amazon's budget, cannot compete with 10 years plus of development. You can't do it. So what do? I'm gonna pull up the I'm gonna do the Moneyball quote, but you recreate content in the aggregate. You literally have to change the mold of what your video game is. And so instead of going from a theme park style MMO, you have to go to a sand park style MMO. You have to. And I'm pretty sure RuneScape is. I've never played RuneScape, guys. I'm sorry. But all these other ones are theme park. And so if you want to compete with theme parks, you have to go sand park. And you have to have content that can be repeatable by the players. You have to have a space that is really fun by the player base. If you look at why am I blanking right now? Nuclear Tango, what's going on? I'm literally blanking on something at the moment. Well, hold on. Oh my God, I had the worst fucking brain fart imaginable. It is the COVID fog, guys. I apologize. Holy shit. What is that? Okay. So, as an example, when did the last Grand Theft Auto come out? Was it Grand Theft Auto 5? Grand Theft Auto 5 release date. 2013. Okay. So Grand Theft Auto released in 2013. Obviously, sandbox style game. It is obviously not an MMORPG. People still play it. 2015. Okay. It says 2013 here on the Google. But if we go over and we go to Twitch and we check out how many people are playing. No. Come on. regardless, I mean, it doesn't matter the exact year, but it's been out for a while. Trying to get the player base right now on Twitch for Grand Theft Auto. So there are currently 177,000 viewers for Grand Theft Auto right now. As an example, there are 177,000 viewers. And so when you look at this, and like let's look at, you know, other games in the space as far as MMORPGs go. Like, I want to say New World's in the thousands, like 2,000 to 3,000 every single day. ESO's 2,000 to 3,000. What is World of Warcraft right now? World of Warcraft, the big dog that I will never disagree that it is the big dog. 22,000 viewers. So my point is if you have a game that is a sandpark style game with lots and lots of repeatable content where people can go on and have fun, and like basically the players create their own quest lines, like what you can do in Grand Theft Auto, that's how you compete with these games. That's how you compete, and that's exactly the style that Ashes of Creation is. So we're at 18. Ashes of Creation is a Sandpark style MMO, and I have thought the same thing that Jimmy has here about, like, how are you going to compete right out of the gate? How are you going? Let me mute this real quick. Sorry, guys. How are you going to compete out of the gate? How are you going to compete with these games? And repeatable content is the way to do it. And so the fact that it's going to be a PvX style game, kind of very similar to what Grand Theft Auto is, where you can fight other players, you can fight people in the area. It's going to be more of a group-based game. The players will create a lot of their own content. The player base, as the players, like, even if the quest lines aren't there and like they haven't evolved to the next level for their node, players are going to create their own drama and create their own fights, which will then generate content for that game in a way that theme park MMOs cannot. They can't compete in the same way. Oh my goodness. I got on mute.
RuneScape style quest system where it feels almost like a mission with a lot of benefits afterwards, rather than just, oh, you might as well just make a single player game. Other MMOs would benefit a lot by trying a more RuneScape style quest system where it feels almost like a mission with a lot of benefits afterwards, rather than just the same generic copy pasted coding of a quest of going and getting 10 mushrooms on a tree and bringing it back for XP. It's the reason why a game like RuneScape, which people have always poked fun at its graphics, feels more alive than a game with fucking Unreal Engine 5. It's the way it feels when you're a part of that world. And I think a lot of MMOs kind of look the other way when it comes to structuring things like that. They're too scared to try something else for progression. I don't know, they just play it too safe. The world has to feel alive, and everyone's end goal can't be the same. I'm not a game dev, I'm just a consumer. I complain. My role here is to complain. I'm not the guy. If I knew what this next MMO looked like, I would be trying to make it. I promise you I would. I don't think any current game devs have really wrapped their head around what it takes to bring an MMO to the next level, but I think with a lot of emerging game engines and technology we're capable of now, we're eventually going to see that thing that really makes our eyes widen and our mouths salivate. It's gonna happen. Could be a year from now, 10 years from now. Our generation of MMO players, probably the only generation of MMO players, are going to be looking for that game, and we'll know it when we see it. But for now, I think we're just gonna be cozy in the games that we play. For a more optimistic look, I think if RuneScape has taught me anything, other MMOs have really not experimented with shit. They have not really opened up the sandbox of themselves. The fact that World of Warcraft just recently released a hardcore version after it took someone developing an entire plugin to do it just kind of shows how they haven't really tried shit yet. And the fact
Yes.
that they just tried a battle royale is even funnier. They're trying, you know, we'll give it to them. Blizzard's trying. They might be 10 years too late to the battle royale boom we mentioned earlier, but they're trying, and we've got to give them that credit. Blizzard has done everything in their power to self-destruct, and they're still standing. It's incredible. If they're not going down by now, they're never going down, all right?
Yep.
That company's here to stay, which gives me confidence that other MMOs will be here to stay too. So we don't really have anything to worry about when it comes to our favorite games, our cozy home base being gone. And I think a lot of MMOs need to take advantage of this world that they've created and the different capabilities their engines have, and look and see how they can approach things differently, like RuneScape has with hardcore modes, Iron Man modes, and region locks with leagues,
Sure.
restricted game modes, challenges, people like watching challenges. And I think a lot of the big MMOs nowadays have the ability to implement something like that to keep their current active player bases occupied and entertained for a long time. And all that being said, I truly hope I look like an idiot a week from today when that next big thing is announced. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I think there's a future for MMOs, and we'll all be here for it. Anyway, I think that's all I got. I've been putting together the house video. It's just 5 days of a lot of footage. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. I also have a special project I can't really talk about right now, but I'm working on that beginning of May. Other than that, it's been a pleasure. Great seeing you. Take it easy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't find myself disagreeing with this at all. This is part of the reason why, like, it's funny. I agree with everything he said. The only difference is I think Ashes has the tools to become what he wants to have happen. When he talks about RuneScape and he literally said sandbox, like I didn't know he said that. I'll be honest, I didn't know he said that. But yeah, a sandbox style game with repeatable content is the way to go. It is 100% the way to go for a new game. I'm not saying everybody is going to like a PvX style game like Ashes of Creation or anything like that. But if you're going to want to come out of the gates and develop a fan base that will compete with some of these other fan bases, you need to have content that will be able to do that. And that type of content will be able to do so. And so I do think, I'll say it again, a little harsh to judge it off of to kill 20 goblins, but I hate fetch quests so much, I get it. Like if I hadn't been following Ashes of Creation for 4 years and I saw the fetch quest there, I'd be like, fucking hell, fetch quests, are you serious? I hate fetch quests. So totally get it. Yeah, really well done video. Like really well done. Tilly, what's going on? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. We have Nyce told me to watch this one. The reason Ashes of Creation is taking so long, it's a Blue Squadron react to Rive Genesis. So I guess we're doing a reactception on this one. I haven't seen this one yet either. I was told to watch this one. We'll see. I've watched a few Blues videos, so this will be interesting. I think I already know the path that it's going to go down. I think he was just ill-informed about the Goblin Quest, but I don't disagree with his take per se. Yeah, I don't disagree at all. If I saw a shit ton of fetch quests, I'd be mad too. So, yeah, I completely agree with him in that regard. All I will say is just like any other game, there's so much more to Ashes of Creation than just a fetch quest. The fetch quests do evolve, and that is a small portion of the quests that are supposed to exist in the game. It's a very small portion. And so, as we saw with commissions, it's a very small portion. And so we don't know what the main story quest line is. I don't want to provide hopium or anything, but yeah, the more we can move on from fetch quests, the happier I will be. But having an evolving world, having a world that changes based off of what you're doing in it, I think is very, very cool. I think that is one of those things where, okay, if you're going to have fetch quests, if you have this evolving world where things can happen, that is changing fundamentally what fetch quests are, in my opinion, if it's done well. So that's where I disagree. But yeah. Did you disagree with our community getting mad at him? They went overboard over something that was pretty small. I know he said people threatened to punch him in the face. What? Yeah. So there is, it's a really old joke from Brian Posehn. He's a comedian from fucking long ass time ago. And he talks about how he's a nerd. And he's like, yeah, you know, my favorite thing to do as a, like how you piss off another nerd is, he goes, you get their passion wrong. And you see it all the time in the MMO space. Like Sawman goes and he reviews videos, other MMORPGs. He goes in and he does a bunch of research. If Sawman messes up one part of an MMORPG that he's been playing for 20, 30, 40 hours, the veteran players let him hear it. And you will see the comments on his video just be fucking horrendous, because you got the point of the game wrong, and they're going to tell you about it. And regardless of whether you go into BDO, you go into ESO, you go into World of Warcraft, if you do something like that and you get your homework wrong on that game, that's exactly what happens. And it sucks. It really sucks that people get that tribalistic about things, because there's just so much room to just inform and talk it through. Like, not everybody is an expert on every single game. People have opinions on the internet that are unresearched all the time. They're just opinions. So yeah, but I do understand where some people got annoyed with this. I do understand where some people got annoyed with seeing like, oh yeah, the Ashes is going to suck because of fetch quests, which isn't what he said. He just said a game that does fetch quests isn't going to be the next big thing, which, yeah. If that's all Ashes is fetch quests, I agree. That's so true, but it's so dumb. Yeah, if you want to piss off somebody that's really passionate about something, get a core point of what they really like about something wrong. And so Brian Posehn's stand-up was, he was talking about, you know, the Star Wars movie came out, and he drove by and he rolled down his window and he's like, hey, Star Trek sucks. Like, just naming the movie wrong. Like, that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do is get something wrong, and the fans will jump out of the woodwork. Whether it's, I mean, dare I say, Taylor Swift fanatics, like, don't get anything wrong about Taylor. You are fucked. Or Ariana Grande or Britney Spears. Like just, if you don't know, just step away. Just step away. One second. I'm gonna open up my window real quick. Did I miss both videos? No, I've just done one. Nyce. What's going on, dude? So I just did the Jimmy one, and now I'm going to do the Blue Squadron one. Remember in ESO, I upset a guild that was passionate about raiding because I said I didn't like raiding the way they did, and I wanted to tank how I wanted to. They got mad, called me garbage, and kicked me from the guild. Yeah. So it's funny because, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, because I'm guessing a lot of people that are in my channel are also ESO fanatics. I still like ESO. I really do. I don't want to play right now because the meta has been the same, like more or less the same as it's always been. I'm waiting for a huge shift to come back and play. And I think this new chapter, if it's done okay enough, I might come back and play. Like, I've been waiting for something new. And although it's broken, at least it's new, right? But it's tough to explain after doing hundreds and hundreds of ESO videos that I'm just not currently interested in this version of ESO. You have all these other people that are watching this, you know, they're watching content and they're like, why don't you like the game in the same way that I do? Why don't you like ESO? And so I will cover New World content, or I will cover Ashes of Creation content. And even yesterday, I had somebody comment about ESO, and they're like, this game looks worse than ESO does. And my honest stance is that if you're enjoying ESO, like, you should absolutely keep playing it. There is so much good content out there in that game that if you haven't played it, you should continue to play it. But my other point of view is if you're going to talk shit to me on my channel about something that I'm excited about, I'm going to troll you back. And so, not that I mean any ill will for it, but yeah, if you come on my channel and you say something like, oh yeah, ESO is better, whatever, I'm gonna poke fun at ESO, because I know As an ESO fanatic, if you're coming to my channel to comment on another video that's not ESO related, this is something you're passionate about, and I know what's going to annoy you. So I don't mean anything by it. I really don't. But it's kind of fun to, poke the bear a little bit and see how they react. Because sometimes people will say something and then you poke fun back and then they're like, I can't believe you would do this. I can't believe you would say this. And they lose their shit. And it's like, well, I mean, hey, don't send stuff then. It's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. Anyways, nobody wants to hear that. Let's react to another video. So Blue Squadron, I've seen a few of his videos, and I have not even seen the original on this. I've not seen Riot Genesis's original video that he's reacting to. So let's see.
Okay, I have a short video.
One of the biggest
I have a short video. Somebody submitted this to me. It says, why is Ashes of Creation taking so long? Hopefully he has an answer for us.
complaints from the Ashes of Creation haters is it's taking too long.
It is taking too long, man. It's been a developer for like 10 years.
However, there are some details that many of you are not aware of and that few are
Maintenance is
pointing
tonight,
out.
yeah.
So I think it's time for me, the YouTuber with a tiny reach and amazing sponsors, to set the record straight. First, I want to talk about MMO development times. MMOs are highly complex and take a long time to develop.
Black Desert took 1.5 years. 2 years technically, start to finish.
Ashes is going to be on the high.
Okay. So this is just Wikipedia, but I'm pretty sure Wikipedia said, hold on. Black Desert Online has been in development since 2010. So 2010, it was founded by Kim Dail. I know I'm already going to get yelled at. Previously developer with Hand Game. It was after agreeing. In November 2012, the game was demonstrated at G-Star. Black Desert Online was also showcased at Gamescom in 2013, so that's 3 years. Black Desert Online entered closed beta testing in October of 2013, 3 years. Second 3-week-long closed beta began in April of 2014, that's 4 years. Open beta was launched in December of 2014. The game was released in Korea, Japan, and Russia in 2015, so that's 5 years. In North America and Europe on the 3rd of March of 2016. 6 years. So from the founding of the game in 2010, it took it to reach North America, for how North American players know it, 6 years. So no, not 2 years. It took 4 and he's coping. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to see the Eastern release, that's fine. The Eastern release has a different rule set for the North American release. Can we just acknowledge that? Can we acknowledge that Throne and Liberty, for the same reason, when they released in Korea, they're going through a completely different developer to release to North America and the rest of the world, because what they release over there, they can't release to countries like North America. Eastern release funded the Western release? Absolutely. Absolutely. But all I'm trying to say is they have a different rule set over there. Like, a lot of the stuff that you can get away with an Eastern release is completely different than a Western release.
High end of development times, but there are several reasons for that, which I will get into later in the video. But first, let's look at how long it took to develop the current popular MMOs.
You know, we just talked about simps and like simping culture in Korea. How is that any different than spending money on Ashes of Creation? If I put more money into it, it will be a good game. If I give her more money, she will love me. How is this any different? Stop simping on Ashes of Creation. Stop giving them money. Stop doing it.
While it took 5 years to develop originally,
Okay.
but
Bro,
it was
until she puts out for you, don't give her any more money. Okay? Ashes of Creation is the same way. And don't give her money for putting out for you either. Jesus. I meant in terms of video game. Wow. Man, we took this analogy too far.
an existing studio that had a bunch of
Don't pay people money for this kind of stuff. Stop paying her money. Like,
developers that could shift over to the MMO project. This is something Intrepid did not have the luxury of. Also, while it launched, wasn't
We had
great
it,
at
and then we
all in
lost it.
comparison to modern standards. There was minimal content, a massive amount of bugs, and the polish wasn't there yet. It just happened to be a time when that was the state of all MMOs.
Yeah.
It was an easier time to launch an MMO because the standards hadn't been raised yet. An MMO that tried to launch today with the features and level of polish.
well, WoW kind of paved the path, right? Of course it was going to have bugs. Of course it was going to have issues, but it launched more polished than anything else we had ever seen. That's not a good comparison at all. Like nowadays, you have way more shit to go off of. You have way easier like development phases for MMOs because you already know what works. You have like systems and stuff. WoW didn't have any of that. They had to develop it from scratch. It still took less time.
Oh boy. So it's what? Okay. So first things first. Just because other games have made and succeeded with the system doesn't mean that the next big game should make that system. Why the fuck would I want to play a new game that has the same systems of an old game? Like, I understand picking and pulling certain pieces and everything, but if I wanted to play World of Warcraft, I would play World of Warcraft. If I want to play Black Desert Online, I would play Black Desert Online. I don't want to play some back alley remake of a fucking game. I don't. And I understand, like, oh yeah, this is the easy way to do it. You just slap new lipstick on a pig and we call it a day. We just move on. I get it. I understand. But no, I completely disagree. So if you're trying to make a game, and we talked about this in the previous video, if you're trying to make a game that's going to compete with a Black Desert, if you're trying to make a game that's going to compete with a World of Warcraft, yes, some MMO generalities apply. Absolutely. But you need to stand out. You need to stand out with your art. You need to stand out with your playstyle. You need to stand out with what your game is about. You need to stand out with your quest line. You need to stand out with your storyline. You need to be your own game. If you're a reskin, you're never going to reach the heights of what you're reskinning from. There's 100 Fortnite clones, but no one's going to stop playing for any of that. Exactly. And I don't mean anything bad by it, but yeah, like just because you have all these other systems that other games have done before, that doesn't mean it streamlines what you're doing. Sure, you can copy. Like, copy is the sincerest form of flattery. Like, you can copy certain parts, but that doesn't mean that it's going to make you making the game easier. Because if you copy a part, you still need to stand out away from the game that you copied. Because if you don't, you're fucked. Like, people are just going to go, oh, wow, they just copied this.
That WoW had in
Hey, Wutara, we're going to play Naraka after I do the patch notes.
2004 would flop incredibly hard. Even without having to meet modern standards, it still took a full 5 years for Blizzard to develop World of Warcraft as an existing studio.
Yeah, 5 years. How long has Ashes have been creation and been in development? How long has Ashes
8 years.
of creation? Yeah, there it is.
8 years.
Since December 10th, 2016. So that's 8 years? Right? Almost 8 years. We're at 7.5 years. You notice that the best MMO of all time took 5. Don't give me the copium that, oh, it just takes a long time. We're already past WoW, man.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, what was the Blizzard development team in 2004? Was it 2004 when it came out? How many developers did it take to make World of Warcraft? The original team was only 40 people strong. Players knew that any game requiring a dedicated team of people who worked that day and night to bring out the title on time. As such, it wouldn't be crazy to assume that something like World of Warcraft would take hundreds of developers to get off the ground in the first place. Okay. Love you guys, but 2 times enough for me to love. I said yesterday in Jamie's stream, WoW had made Warcraft 1 and 2 and took both those games to make WoW. Warcraft 1 and 2, huh? It's just a completely different time period.
Like
Final Fantasy XIV took 5 years for its first launch, which
5, the integer 5 is lower than the integer 7.5. So
failed
or
and
7,
then
I guess.
relaunched 3 years later.
7.5
so in
isn't
total,
an
8
integer.
years. Again, this was an existing studio. And here are a bunch more currently popular MMOs and
Yeah, and you'll notice that none of these are hitting 8 years, except for 8 years Korean launch, 11 years Western launch. Okay, so Lost Ark took some time, but they weren't teasing it over our heads, asking us for more money the whole time. Okay, so like Lost Ark took 8 years, but like they weren't literally asking you for $700 more to play their next Alpha 7. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? It's not even close to the same.
And their
No wonder people are upset about
development
this
times.
game.
Do note that many of these projects came from existing
BDO did not take 5 years. We watched a video on it recently. It said it took them a year and a half from like the very start to basically their beta test. And then it took them another half a year after that. So it took them like 2 years. And
Okay. No, it's released in 2016. You can't just jump years like that. That's not how it works. Yeah, here's the thing with World of Warcraft. Like, you have World of Warcraft, and it had to compete with the likes of Ultima Online and RuneScape. And I'm not saying any of these games are bad, right? I'm not saying that any of these games are bad. But World of Warcraft it evolved into its own beast. And in order to compete with World of Warcraft, there's an entire tier of competition you have to leapfrog. It's like in the NBA. Like, do I think I could play in the modern NBA at my peak athleticism? No, of course not. Like, I am so far away from Victor Wembanyama, from LeBron James. These guys are just athletic freaks, right? Just in the nicest compliment possible. Love watching these guys play basketball. But if I went back to the 1950s and I played with like George Mikan and them, do I think I have a shot at playing like basketball, like 5 minutes of pickup basketball in the NBA back then? Abso-fucking-lutely. I think I have a small shot at that point in time. People are doing fucking free throws underhanded at that point in time. There's just an entire tier. Although it's the NBA, there is an entire skill gap of people. I'm kidding, guys. I couldn't even play the NBA back then. But what I'm trying to say is the clearance for being good in the 1950s to now is completely different thing. And so if you want to come out of the gate and you want to make a game, if World of Warcraft released right now with what they released back in 2004 and 2005, it would not succeed. It would not succeed in today's day and age with the amount of other good games that exist, because they have to still compete with all the old games and then the newer games that have come out in like the last 10 years. And so some of this is just legacy value. Like, World of Warcraft started and hit a nostalgia level for players that they're just going to continue to go back and play, in my opinion. And there hasn't been a good enough game to compete, so people just go back to play what they know and what they like that hit that nostalgia level. You have to break that if you want to come through as a new game. And so, yes, development is going to take longer. It's going to take 5 years for development, 5 to 10 years for development.
And they were a new studio, much smaller.
MMOs and their development times.
Video took 4 years. Well, even still, even if you do put 4 years, we watched the video that said 2, so like that's where I get that figure. But even if it did take 4 years, it's still half of what Ashes have taken, and Ashes is nowhere near ready, guys. Keep in mind, these are finished product at 7 years, finished product at 5 years, finished product at 4 years, finished product at 6 years. Ashes is, guys, they announced that there's going to be 7 biomes. They have 1 biome done. They announced like 2 or 3 continents. They don't even have 1 section of 1 continent done. They don't have like 7 of the 8 races aren't done. Like, guys, like they're so far from a finished product, it's not even close.
Do note that many of these projects came from existing developers, or the scope was incredibly simplistic. In fact,
I would not say that any of these, the scope, okay, the scope was really small, true. But like, ESO is not a small scope. Get the bro. ESO was a big project, huge. So was Guild Wars 2. So was Guild Wars 2. Eve is a bigger scope than.
So I will speak on ESO. ESO was a large scope when it released. It is a much smaller scope than what Ashes is attempting to do. It is a much smaller scope. What they released with back in 2014 and 2015, and then 16 for Xbox, was not nearly the game that it is now. It took 10 years for ESO to hit how big and how extensive it is. I mean, there's just so many things that are different than what they were at the intro of the game. And you can go back and you can look at dev comments, and people will talk, like you can see developers talking about the first 2 to 3 years of what the game is, and they're like, yeah, the game is much better off now than it was then. Like, people nostalgically look back then at like what the first few years of ESO were. It is just a better functioning game now. Even with all of its issues, it's a better functioning game now than what it was then. And so it's just kind of funny. But yeah, it was a larger scope game, absolutely. But it is a much smaller scope than what Ashes is trying to do. ESO's entire quest storyline, whether you like it or not, and whether you've played through it 1, 2, 3, 5 times plus like I have, every single quest in ESO is a fucking fetch quest. Every single one. Even the main storyline. Go here, do this. Go here, do this. The quest lines, they're some of the better MMORPG quest lines in the genre, but that's just because the entire genre is not very good for main story quest lines. So their entire story is, hey, go here, do this, go here, do this, go here, do this. And then you have players that help you in those areas. They did release with a good amount of dungeons, but then quarterly, they've been coming out with 2 new dungeons every quarter for years. They stopped doing that recently, but that's why there's just a backlog of a shit ton of content now. But when it first released, it was not like that at all. And so when you look at what the entire scope of the game was initially starting, they didn't have Hrothgar. Like, the big end game area was I'm blanking on the area right now, but you're very secluded in your area. They didn't have one Tamriel. They didn't have all these things. It is nowhere near the scope of what Ashes is attempting to do. And I've spoken highly about ESO for years. So yeah, Rive is 100% right with respect to this one.
Then probably even Ashes is. No, like, saying that Eve is a small scope compared to Ashes is crazy. That's crazy. Eve's systems, the complicated, like how complicated the game is, how vast the world is
there it is, guys. There it is. AOC equals Star Citizen. I have not seen this joke in 2 days. It has been a long time that I have seen AOC equals Star Citizen. If you guys want to have just a hearty chuckle, go to every single video you can and write AOC equals Star Citizen. It is just great every fucking time. It just drills that perfect amount of snark. ESO is a massive MMO with mega servers that smoked everything about Ashes. Bro. Sorry, I'm not trying to read comments of this other guys. Yes, ESO is 10 years in with 10 years of development. They took 7 years to make the game. What the game is now 17 years into development. We have to understand what some of these old games, where the head start they have versus new games are. Like, they have such a huge head start as far as content goes. They have 7 more years of development.
Larger than Ashes. Get the out of here. Like, Eve is
I don't know anything about
way larger
me neither.
scope. And yeah, it's way less polished, but it still only took 6 years to get done. Right? Like, so like this.
I love Star Citizen. Companies need to be more ambitious. I agree. I have not played Star Citizen. I know that they're very ambitious, but I saw after about the 10th or 15th Star Citizen joke, I was like, okay, I got to go check out Star Citizen's latest release stuff. And it looks fucking good. Like, I know there's a lot of bugs and everything, but the project ambition is fucking insane. And so I know Sawman's played it. I know a few other people that I talked to quite a bit have played it. And so my perspective is yeah, like, it'd be cool if they released a game and like they quit ending their scope creep. But at the same time, like if they actually released a non-buggy product of what they have, that'd be one of the coolest freaking games out there right now. 17 years and still can't skip all dialogue and quests. Yeah, it took about 15 years in ESO for you to be able to auto craft any one potion. So instead of spamming the button 200 times, I want to say it was about 3 years ago now. So 14 years of development, you finally had a slider for crafting. That's how vast the scope is for ESO. And I'm not shitting on them or anything like that. It's just, it's crazy to compare like a game that's been out for 10 years or 15 years or whatever to a game that's still in pre-alpha 2. Pockets, what's going on? Surprised New World was 5 years for how bad it crashed? Yeah, New World needed to release. If New World released this last year with the amount of content that they currently have with artifacts and everything, I think New World as it stands right now would have had a chance. I think they still have a chance with the console release. Like, we'll have to see how good their console release is and everything. That's what they're gearing up for, because literally they have no retention on PC. So they're working towards that. We will see. But yeah, they needed a few more years of content and they didn't have it. New World should have been in development for 7 or 8 years. Yeah, an Amazon gaming studio, fucking Amazon, should have developed for 8 years. And the difference between Amazon Gaming Studios and Intrepid are two completely different things. So yeah, absolutely. And New World doesn't have nearly the scope of what Ashes is trying to get.
This is Eve right here. Sorry guys, my camera was blocking out. I'll move my camera down so we can see it. But
just don't have a camera,
you can
bro.
Tell he's on
it's
like
easy.
A massive amount of copium about this. Like, these are not small projects. What did he say about BDO?
Came really popular MMOs.
Much smaller scope than Ashes. BDO hits a wider scope than even Ashes of Creation does. Are you kidding me? BDO came out in 2016. We have like all kinds of systems in the game. It hits a way larger game. Like, BDO is massively complex systems that are way more in-depth than Ashes. Ashes' most complex system is the Tetris system that you have for the inventory. Yeah, BDO is a sandbox. Yeah, I know. Like, there's nothing in Ashes that makes it incredibly hard to grasp, right? Like, the thing that Ashes is trying to do, you've got seasons, okay? And, like, the world evolves as players, like, do stuff. Okay, sure. But, like, aside from that, the combat is way less of a scope than BDO is. The life skills are way less developed than BDO's life skills. Look at like sniper hunting in BDO. Look at like the fact that you can ride around on your horse with a giant ass musket and hunt down griffins. I don't see anything like that in Ashes. Are we kidding? Like the bartering system, right?
So are we talking about the scope of the game, or are we talking about like the systems that exist? So what we have seen from Ashes so far is a fraction of what their overall scope is. And yes, this lends credence to his point of view that we are years in development, we're years away. I completely agree. There's been no talk about naval, which 2/3 of the map is currently water. So there's been no discussion about what naval combat is going to look like for years now. They're not working on that currently. Or they're not working on it to a point to where they can show it currently. I don't know what they're working on. We don't have the quest lines or anything. We don't know what exists in the ocean. We don't know much, honestly, about node progression because we haven't seen a lot. We've seen a 5-hour node or 4-hour node live stream that basically covered what mayors do for nodes. That's what we've seen so far for nodes. But nodes are all encompassing. They have a stock market that's going to exist in Ashes of Creation that we have not heard anything about. We still have 3 more archetypes to talk about. We don't know the full amount of weapons that are going to exist in Ashes of Creation yet. There's just so much that they haven't covered yet because the scope of the overall game is fucking massive. It is a large, encompassing game where literally everything kind of intertwines. I'm not trying to take away from BDO or anything like that, but riding on horseback and being able to shoot griffins isn't a discussion on what scope is, in my opinion. He equates the systems equal scope of the game. Exactly. You and Nyce play BDO? No, I have not played BDO. So the reason I didn't play BDO, and I know it's different now. So Blue, if you ever watch this in the future, when the game came out, I was very interested in BDO when it initially came out, but the fact that it was very the grindiness aspect of it and the amount of pay to win that initially existed for it just deterred me from the game. I wasn't at a point to where I wanted to invest a shit ton of money in a game in order to compete with top tier players. I would rather utilize I would rather be able to play a game to where I don't have to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to compete. That's the way the game initially was. I had friends that dropped a lot of money just to be able to compete with people. Just wasn't something I was interested in at the time. I know BDO is still thriving. I have a few friends that still enjoy it, and they've gotten me to want to come over and play. I'll play it eventually, but I have not played it for that reason. And I just missed the first boat, and I know there are other boats, but yeah, that's why I didn't play it initially. Blue Squadron's only seen what he has seen in Ash's gameplay videos. He hasn't touched any of the extra information that we've gotten from everywhere else. Yeah, I mean and that's fine, right? Like that's like not everybody's interested in a game to the same depth of the rest of us. And that's more than okay. And so people having like even his stance overall right now, it's not wrong. Like I mean, yeah, why is this game taking so long? I get that perspective, but at the same time, it is an indie studio, and you're comparing an indie studio to a lot of AAA gaming studios creating games with hundreds of developers. And Ash has just hit 200 developers a month or two ago. So this entire 8-year time period, in year 8, they finally hit 200 developers. I want to say Baldur's Gate 3 had 350 to 400 developers. And they're not a big AAA gaming studio working on their game. Like I'm just trying to point out like as an idea for what another very successful game, you know, what their development team looked like.
Right? Like trading as a concept, like
and their development times.
like they're all saying all small scope. These are all way bigger games than Ashes is. Like
that many of these projects came from existing developers.
I don't agree.
New World should have been in development longer. Tiny scope. Are you kidding me?
Yes, absolutely.
What?
Absolutely.
Or the scope was incredibly simple.
Bro, we just got mounts. Like New World just got mounts this last year. Year 8. Like year 8, they're like, hey, you guys get horses. Year 6, they're like, hey, you guys get fast travel. And year 7, they said, hey, our servers are dying, our smaller servers, so we're going to do cross-server OPR so that you can have more people to play OPR. Year 7, they had that. They still don't have cross-server expeditions. They still don't have cross-server arenas. Like, and they're 8 years in. So yeah, the scope for what it was originally released as is extremely small. You can't even swim in New World. Exactly. Like you can literally ride on fucking horseback and kill boars or whatever in Black Desert Online. You can't even swim in New World. And we're year 8 in development. Completely different.
Okay, what's his definition of a scope? Maybe his definition of a scope. Like my definition of a scope is, okay, how many systems are in the game? How complex are those systems? How much time do you have to spend learning those systems?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like to me, like the scope of a game, I think EVE Online probably has like the biggest scope in which it's trying to cover like a massive amount.
It's got a large scope.
And the amount of complexity in the game, right? But like most of these MMOs have massive scopes that they cover, like at least on par with Ashes, if not better. Scope equals scope.
In
That's
fact,
fair.
no MMO on this list has a scope as complex as Ashes. Another important distinction, it is much harder to launch an MMO these days than it was in 2004.
What about 2016? What about 2020? How is it harder? You have Unreal Engine 5. Shut up. It's not harder. Unreal Engine 5 makes it brain dead. We had people like, what was that MMO that was gonna come out but then didn't? Like looked like it was a scam. It was just a bunch of Unreal Engine like things just dumped it like from the store, just dumped into the game. I forget what the name of that MMO was, but like I don't think it ultimately came out. But like Unreal Engine 5 makes everything way easier. Not the day before. Quinfall. That's the one. Quinfall. Like literally, Unreal Engine 5 makes everything way, way easier for people. And so do the engines nowadays, just in general. Are you kidding me? BDO had to create its own engine. Like,
These days you have to launch with a lot more content and polish to have a successful
Dark Avocado, thanks for the reset for 4
MMO.
months, man.
Then how about unreleased
Welcome back, buddy.
projects? Throne and Liberty has been in development for 12 years.
And it's garbage. I'm just kidding. We're going to play it when it comes out.
It's actually not bad.
Did
Throne
and
and Liberty's not
develop
bad.
for 12 years? How
Yeah.
long did...
Yes, it did.
The game was first announced and titled as Lineage Eternal in November 2011. So yeah, really long time. But again, the difference between Throne and Liberty and Ashes of Creation is Throne and Liberty didn't actually ask you for 12 years for more money every year so that they could keep developing their game.
No, because they're releasing with pay to win boxes in their cash shop. Like that's how they're going to drive their entire game. I understand, like as a BDO player, inherently he just wants to open the pocketbook. I understand. I understand. Like this is the driving force. It's a complete joke, guys. Obviously, they're two completely different things. But yeah, you disagree with me on that one? All I'll say is my initial view on Throne and Liberty was pretty bad. And then I played the Korean version, and I came away impressed with actually what the scope and what the combat was. I only put 15-ish hours into it. I didn't put a ton of hours into it because I wasn't going to grind and level up a character on a Korean server when I'm going to grind and level up a character on an NA server. I will play that game until the pay to win really creeps up to a point that I don't want to invest, and then I'll stop playing. That's where I'm at. But the mechanics of Throne and Liberty are quite fun, in my opinion. Development was also paid for by NCSoft. They have other games. Yeah, exactly. NCSoft is actually quite large as well. You were joking about him opening his pocketbook. Wait till you find out he spent 15K on BDO. That's the way BDO mains are, man. I'm not talking shit. I really am not. It's your game. It's your, like, you. If you like something, you should play it if you're enjoying it. Absolutely. I know I have plenty of friends that I have plenty of friends, period. But I have quite a few friends that have played BDO at a high-end level that also have spent thousands of dollars. And so, yeah, I totally understand. That's kind of what you have to do to compete in BDO. I don't want to play that type of game personally. I gave a ton of feedback for the playtest, but I didn't even make it through the entire playtest. I uninstalled it before I even needed to. That's fair. 18K? Hey, he's a content creator. Sometimes you're investing money into a game for content. So I'm not going to judge somebody based on, I mean, if you go, I don't know how much of you guys play like Madden or anything, or you follow Madden, but every time they release a new Madden, if you go look at Madden Ultimate, all the biggest Madden content creators, they have entire videos dedicated to opening packs for new cards. Like, I dropped $2,000 on the new Madden Ultimate cards. What did I get? And that's their content. And literally their content pays for the money that they invested into it. And so it's just a, you know, it's a never ending cycle. You invest money into the game, the views come in, you get money off of that, you pay for it. So I don't know. I'm not going to speak on what he's invested into the game. We've all spent money on things we like. It's not a big deal. Those games are slot machines hidden behind a game? Absolutely. No, I'm not disagreeing. That's why I don't play Madden. That's why I don't play Madden Ultimate either. I'm just stating that if you're a content creator for a game like this, sometimes it pays for itself. That's all I'm saying. The guy that spent 100K on Diablo Immortal in the first month? Exactly. Exactly.
Okay? They didn't string us along every month for 12 straight years, dragging us behind the cart, asking for more money constantly. Yeah, Star Citizen does that, and that's why people hate Star Citizen.
I gotta ask, how are they asking for more money? Like, I'm just being honest here. Like, how is Ashes asking for more money? They have their packs that they've had since Kickstarter. They closed their Alpha 2 pack in January. You can't pay for an Alpha 2 pack for what's going on 5 months now. They're not broadcasting these things at all. Like, what are we talking about? And even before that, I mean, I've been following Ashes for 4 years now. They've never, like, they've just been showcasing what their development is and where they're at. And if people like it, like myself, you buy an Alpha 2 key. Need to find out if Blue Squadron actually bought an Ashes or not. Well, we'll find out. Doesn't know they shut down the packs, and even when the packs were open, Steven never told anyone to buy them. Yeah. No, and I've that's been their stance as well. I've had a lot of people come up to me asking me about, oh, should I buy an Alpha 2 key? Like, dude, it's a lot of money. It can be a lot of money for a lot of different people. I'm not going to tell anybody what they should do with their money. If you want to spend $10,000 on BDO, if you want to spend $5,000 on another MMORPG, whatever your money is, that's your money and that's your decision. I don't care what the monetary amount is. That's your choice that you have to make for yourself. So I'm not going to push those levers at all. Steven actually told people to not buy into the game. Yeah. And you don't have to. That's the thing is like, people that are following along, you're not missing anything. There's nothing to play right now. There's nothing to play probably for the next 3 years. My guess is still we're 3 years out. And the thing is if you don't want to buy Alpha 2, if you don't want to buy Beta, if you want to just try Ashes of Creation, it's $15. It's $15 for the first month. And then you try it. And if you don't like it, you stop playing. And it's simple. So you're $15 invested with years worth of video development videos. You are going to be, as far as like Ashes goes for what they're trying to portray for a video game, you are going to be the most informed about a video game, whether you want to try it or not, for the least, like one of the lowest monetary amounts you can invest to pay to try a game. There's so many games that exist where you pay $50, $60, $70. You then play it for a week. You complete it. You don't like it, whatever. And that's it, right? Like you just dropped your $60, $70 and it's over. At least with Ashes, like you see what's going on and you can go, okay, I kind of know that I want to play this now. Or I don't. And I don't think it's good at all. That's fine too.
It still has not launched in the West.
Well, but it's out though. It's out and it's coming in the West though. And
it's out in Korea. My man, it is not out in the West. It is under development by Amazon Gaming Studios right now. That means it is not out. You can't count it. This does not count.
Polished product.
Riot MMO first started development in 2016.
Why do you think it's going through?
Okay, you can't compare the Riot MMO. We have no idea what's going on with that.
8 years they have been working on an MMO.
Why do you think it's going through development right now? Why do you think Throne and Liberty is getting, rehashed by AGS? Because it has to. Because the way it released in Korea, it will not work in the United States. So yes, they're still working on it.
MMO, and it has just been reset again and is back at square one, which probably means a minimum of 5 more years or 13.
Yeah, the difference is Riot's not asking us for money.
Total
not
before
yet.
That game would
like Riot's not asking us, and we would pay it too. To be clear, people would pay it. If Riot said, hey, we need more money, people would pay $500, thousands of dollars, but they're not. Ashes is. That's why people can complain that it's taking a long time.
Release if it actually does, and let's be honest, it is probably never going to release. So anywhere from 5 to 13 years seems to be how long it takes to develop an MMO. The average is probably somewhere around 7 to 8 years.
Yeah, but Ashes is nowhere near the fact.
It takes time, and there are some other details.
This is the cope of all cope, guys. This is crazy. I feel like I'm watching Narcoverse.
About Ashes development that many gloss over, but are important to point out.
Making an MMO.
Yeah. Riot MMO is being funded by Valorant and League of Legends. Exactly. They have their own fucking funding. Imagine if Blizzard came out and said, hey guys, we're starting up a fucking Kickstarter for a new game. Can you fund this for us? You know how many people would flip their shit justifiably because they literally have war chests of cash from all the games that they've released? It's not the same thing. To be fair, both those games are free to play. That's also fair. But that's the point is they have multiple successful game releases. They've already have profitable games. They have a war chest to develop a game. And they're going to probably, when the Riot MMO inevitably releases, I bet it's going to release and cost more money than what Ashes currently does. So that's my point of view on it.
MMO as a new studio is a huge challenge. BDO is a new studio.
Those were
They took 6 years.
by existing studios. Intrepid in 2017, when the game started development, had 15 employees, and not all of them were developers.
Is it Star Citizen? What's the game that has like that crazy small? It's not Star Citizen. It's something else. It started. The game came out. It was like that space game, and it was like really shitty. And then they turned it around, and it's amazing now. No Man's Sky. That's the one. Sky. They had like 7 employees working on it or whatever. No Man's Sky turned it around. They do an amazing job.
They hoped to hit 100 employees in 2018, but they were not able to hit 100 employees until 2021. It is hard for a new studio to
They
get
have 100 employees and they can't get one game out.
employees.
Y'all motherfuckers are paying for 100 people's salary. That's
Since
crazy.
the job security is often
Sorry, I am looking something up. So Pearl Abyss come out with Black Desert and nothing. Trying to figure out how many developers Black Desert has, but they're not pulling that up right now. There it is. There it is. How many employees does Pearl Abyss have? Founded in 2010. 420 as of March 2018.
lower at startups.
And this is what your
Good games take time. Good MMORPGs take a bigger development team. Good games take a larger development team. Like this should just make sense.
money went to.
And Steven is also picky on who he will hire. Plus, COVID was an additional setback. So full production really didn't get started until 2021 when they finally had enough employees to make real progress on the project. Then there was a
420 is double the AOC development team and then some. Yeah, and that's 2 years after it came out in the West, by the way. So 2 years after the development happened, Blue Pearl Abyss has 420 developers just maintaining and updating the game. And they don't, I mean, if you look at what Pearl Abyss is, I mean, it is not, they don't have a bunch of W's as far as game development goes. Where's it at again? Sorry. So, games that Pearl Abyss has right now. 2014, Black Desert Online. 2018, Black Desert Mobile. You guys had 400 developers for a mobile game. For a mobile game. Then you had Black Clover, Rise of the Wizard King. What the fuck is that? Another Android iOS. Okay, great. Crimson Desert. Don't know what that is. Doke 5. Don't know what the fuck that is. Plan 8. What the fuck?
major bug in the network code that was found during apocalypse testing that caused them to have to rewrite their network.
Pearl Abyss has Eve. They acquired it in 2018. Are you telling me that Wikipedia is wrong? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Wikipedia is never wrong. I'm just kidding. Guys, I'm only pulling Wikipedia Like I can't do research on this and react to the video. It would take way too much time, but at least I'm trying here. we're going to keep it in. But yeah, that's fair. But regardless, the point is they have Black Desert, and if they have Eve, that's great. But still, that's still double the development team. Like, Ashes of Creation has 200 developers for the last 2 months. Black Desert has had 400 plus developers for the last 6 years. Crimson Desert is a single player version of Black Desert. Ugh.
Code and certainly set the project back. And I also think upgrading from UE.
This is all just, nobody cares. No one cares. This is all just standard product development problems.
Sure.
Shut up. Where is the game?
Or to UE5.
You keep asking for more money. Where is the product?
I've set the project back some as well. Which these types of delays and setbacks are
Excuses,
normal
yeah,
with
nobody
MMO
cares.
development. You
Yeah,
just
no, nobody
don't
does.
hear about
Nobody
the
cares.
vast majority.
Why did everybody else get their game out 10 years before you did?
Because most developers develop MMOs in a completely closed environment. Intrepid has embraced open development, which means the good and the bad gets exposed. You don't just get a
Open development is fine unless you're constantly asking people for money, and I don't like open development. I think it should be like kind of between. I think you should ask players for advice and then just kind of do what you want for your game. Because if you ask players, players don't know what the hell they want, man. If you try to get caught up trying to make everybody happy, you'll end up making nobody happy.
Yeah. Why wasn't Ashes made 10 years ago? Yeah, because the company was founded in 2016, so it just couldn't have. Yeah, I know he's ranting, and I know the point is as far as the development goes. Yeah, games take a while to develop. This game's going to take longer to develop. If you're expecting this game to come out soon, you're going to be extremely disappointed. It's just the way it is. So you can follow along monthly, yearly, whatever. You're not going to miss anything because it's going to take a while for this game to come out. And we can talk about, the startup point. We can talk about development teams. Like, I want to say, let me pull something up here. How many developers? Okay, so I'm not going to be able to find it in the short term. I'm not going to try and find it for a live stream. The point is last year, I want to say, so in all seriousness, all joking aside and everything, last year, I want to say early 2023, Intrepid announced 100 developers. And I could be wrong. I did some research, and I think they at one point in like 2019. So there's a Wikipedia out there that said like in 2019 they hit 100 developers, and then COVID happened, and then they hit 100 developers again like a year or two later, and they just recently hit 200. So just a few months ago they hit 200. And so if we look at a game like Larian, if we look at Baldur's Gate 3. And Larian Studios has, 400? I think the last time I saw it was 450 developers. How long did it take to make Baldur's Gate 3? Trying to pull it up. Six years. So it took Larian 6 years to make Baldur's Gate 3. And I like Baldur's Gate 3. I'm not talking shit about any game or anything like that. Not on this live stream, at least. But it took them 6 years to make Baldur's Gate. The scope for Baldur's Gate is quite large. The cinematics alone are just incredible. 450 developers. It took them 6 years. And so when you realize that for the vast majority of Ashe's lifespan, they have had 1/4 of the development team, and just recently they've upgraded to 1/2 of the development team. It makes sense. Like it makes sense. You have 450 developers. if you've had 100 developers instead of the 450, it would take so much more time. It would take 15 plus years in order to complete Baldur's Gate with that many less developers. It just would. This isn't, we don't have to dive into it any further. The more developers you have, the quicker you can push out a game. They're getting the development team out now. They have more people. But regardless, the point is they're a much smaller company, and your expectations on a small company should be much less than a larger company. They're trying to swing with the big boys, which is great, which is what you want to see, which is why I'm personally supporting them. But it's also going to take a while. It's going to take a long time for this game to come out. So play some other games in the meantime. Baldur's Gate is an amazing game. Yeah.
Carefully curated
6
experience.
years.
You get it all. And then the final reason Ashes is taking so long. The game is massive. It just is. There is no way around that. And on one hand, I've always viewed...
I don't know about you guys. I would rather them release it as a smaller world.
I would not.
I'd rather them just release the game as like part of the main continent, right? And then just release expansions for it every like 6 to 12 months.
I would not, because New World did that. And what you have happen. So here's the main reason. We're past jokes now. We're into the meat and potatoes of the discussion. So if we do, so this right here is why I don't want them to release in installments. It's right here. Because this is exactly what will happen if they release in installments. You need to complete the whole game. If you don't complete the whole game, people are going to come, they're going to play, they're going to get bored, they're going to leave. And if you're a good development team, you can get them to come back, of course. If you're a not so good development team, or if you have a bunch of investors that want their money, you get this. And so this is the most recent storyline of what happens if you release a game too early. I sincerely believe that if New World released this last year with the content that they have, yes, they would absolutely drop from peak players to a lower amount, but this would have been way more gradual. This would have been way more gradual, and their retention would have been a hell of a lot better. They would have a hell of a lot more than 6,600 players playing right now. That's all I'm going to say. And the problem that they had was they just released too early. They didn't have enough stuff. And then they have seasons. They now have a season pass, and there's not enough content for a fucking season pass. It's just not great. And I know that's one example. But that's the most recent fucking horrific example of what happens when you release a game too early.
To make it bigger. But like keeping it small at the start at least makes it feel like an alive world. I don't really care that the world's going to be massive. Then I just don't ever get to see anybody.
6K on a Friday night.
Scope as a potential issue. How do you make all these interconnected systems work well together and all of them feel good? Then have a massive 1,200 square kilometer world map, and on every square inch of this world map you have systems on top of systems on top of more systems. Getting all of that in place and feeling fluid is not an easy task. But on the other hand, while I view that as a concern, it is also why I'm interested in this project. Because it is not just...
Again, I think that the people that are still supporting Ashes of Creation at this point are also the same people that are still giving to OnlyFans every month for certain girls so that they'll talk to them because they, like they're in love with these people.
Yet another WoW clone.
Are we really besmirching somebody's spending habits as somebody that spent allegedly $10,000+ on a video game? Really? Like if I want to pay for my OnlyFans, which I do not, I am a happily married man that would never do that. But if somebody else wants to, that is their money and they're entitled to do whatever the hell they want. But regardless, boy.
There's nothing you can say or do to give them reason.
Is aiming big. It is trying new things. And that...
The queen knows, you know what I mean? Like, they can do no wrong.
It's my nerd...
It's exactly the same.
Boner raging. And of course, speaking of nerd boners, Rivalations is live again tonight on Twitch.
Why does it say... Look at this shit, bro. Like, Ashes of Creation is underhyped. Underhyped?
You know how
That's
YouTube
crazy.
works, man. Come on, you know how YouTube works.
That's crazy. Here's the video right here. My favorite thing is when it says it looks like a 2010 game when it's not even in beta yet. Yeah, that's the problem, is it's not even in beta yet, and we're on almost year 8 now.
Hey, that sounds like something I said.
It's like visiting a house that being built and it's only bricks for now, and someone says it looks like an abandoned building. It doesn't even have paint on it. No. Ashes of creation. That's a good analogy. I like that. No,
It is.
ashes.
Guys, okay, this housing analogy is fucking fantastic. Like, it's almost like I used this analogy in a video just this week.
Of creation is that house that's been being built on the goddamn corner of your subdivision for the last 8 years, and like every 3 months they add like 4 more bricks to it, but it's a constant construction site, it's a constant eyesore, and it's always there, ruining the house value of everything else around it.
As a person actively hunting for houses right now, nothing's ruining the housing market right now. Like like pieces of shit are going for mid 6 figures. That's all I'm gonna say. Regardless, I get his point of view, but if we're gonna use this house analogy, which I think is fantastic, you have your big development teams, you have your big construction companies that, you know, they hire their electricians, they hire their plumbers, they have their painting teams that come in. You know, they have a working, fully functioning team of 20 to 30 people working on building a house. And they build that house in under a year. I want to say most houses right now, depending on the construction team, the ones that we've been looking at recently take about 8 months. I think they take about 8 months to fully develop. And, you know, you have your generic carpenters, you have all these people coming in, but regardless, you have a team of 10 to 20 people, I would guess. I helped my dad on his retirement home, and it took them 15 years. We're on year 15 of working on this house with the 4 of us. It's just different. It's just different. You don't have the same amount of time. You don't have the same amount of laborers working around the clock. It's going to go slower. And obviously, like, it was more or less done like 5 years ago, but now they're just like, they've done so much. They've got most of it accomplished. Now it's just the finishing touches. And they're like, fuck it. We've been working hard for 10 years. We're done. But that's the point is the development team or the construction team matters. Ruining MMO value because it's being built. Yes. This is why I don't watch Doomium streamers, just point and laugh. It's what they want. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, what Blue is saying isn't wrong. Like, you don't have to follow Ashes in depth. Like, you really don't right now. It's going to come out in a few years. Whether or not you watch it every month like I do, or whether or not you watch it quarterly or yearly, it doesn't matter. It's still going to come out in a few years. And whatever your opinion now on it will possibly change at that point in time. Like, it's the amount of investment you want to have in beforehand. He's enjoying BDO. I think. I don't watch your streams, Blue. I'm sorry. He's playing BDO. He's playing another game. Why would he allocate a shit ton of his time to something else that doesn't exist yet? I get it. I get it. Watch the YouTuber use a house analogy for AOC in a way that it could have been me. Come in and build a house super cheap and effective and it looks good, but once you move in, you notice the little shit they messed up on. Exactly. There is a big difference between. So we went. Okay, we're going off the rails here, but he's done. So we just looked at a new development house today, and I'm not interested. I am not interested at all. The finishing touches. I'm not going to say who the company is. It honestly wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. It was very generically put together. It was a very generically put together house. And my wife and I are currently selling our house after we updated it. And our finishing touches on this house, I will just say, are a hell of a lot better than what the 20 fucking contractors did. That's all I'm saying. And so, you know, you're getting paid. That's not your house, right? That's not your house. That's not what you're working on. Like you're getting paid to go out there and you're nothing was cut inappropriately or anything. It was just the finishing touches. Like, they had their finishing nailer They used their finishing nailer for the trim and everything, but they didn't think to like cover up the nail heads. They didn't think to like really make everything pop, because that's just extra hours and labor, and they're pushing out houses. And so, yeah, if you want to push out a house in record time with a high level development team, yeah, you can do that. And guess what happens when you do that? You get New World. That's what you get. You get a game that is a literal shell of what an MMORPG should be, and you get a game that flops and does. Let's pull that up again. Let's pull that up again. So if you want to streamline everything and you want to make a game that releases really, really quickly, you get this. This is what you get. So, I mean, you can do this. You could sell on hype. This all-time peak is pretty sick, guys. Like 913,000 people. That is impressive. That really is. You can absolutely do this. But then when people come in and they view your MMO house and they see all the trim work is shoddily put together, and they see that the basement's unfinished, and they see that there's no toilet in the bathroom, and they see that the oven is non-existent, they're not going to want to fucking live here. They're just not going to want to be here. They're going to go somewhere else. Come in and build a house super cheap. And yeah. Seen it react 3 times now. Honestly, else did it best, but Blue is on it. Yeah, no, and a lot of what Blue does, he's doing it for, like Blue is also playing a personality on YouTube and Twitch. Like this is part, and honestly, he's not wrong. Like, show me the game before I can get excited about it. That's fine. But yeah, as far as scope goes, he said the definition of scope correctly, but then he was explaining the scope and like, I don't know. I just disagree. I think Ashes has one of the larger scopes that I've seen. I enjoy remodeling houses, and people always say, oh, you flip houses. No, I don't. I do quality work and don't just cover shit up and hide it. There's a house I live in and it's my home. House flipper. Exactly. No, we are not flipping this house. Like we are selling it. We're updating it and moving it. And so technically we are flipping, but we're not the generic flipper that are just literally painting it and moving on. Like we're improving different things in this house. And so we're making this house better than what it was, in my sincere opinion. I do like this house. I don't like the exact location. Like I wanted to get it into a specific area a little bit more. But I love working on remodeling houses. It's a lot of fun. New World was a survivor game that changed genre in the last year of development, delayed it an extra year. Exactly. Like they completely 180'd what their game was. And so, yeah, if you want to do a New World and you want to release a game with an idea of a survival MMO, I think Viral had the picture in Discord where he showed like you could, at one point you could farm in New World. I think it was in the beta. Like you could farm during the beta in New World. And then they changed the game completely. And they're like, hey, instead of having always on PvP, which might deter players, we're going to put a toggle system in. And this is my initial pain point with New World, was they completely changed what the game was. And although that idea is fine, having a toggle system, they didn't have the system supplemented enough to make the toggle system work. And so that's part of the reason why the game became so boring. It's like they made a game with the expectations like, yeah, people are going to kill each other over and over and over again, and they're going to get really frustrated, and like this is going to be part of the game. And then they removed that, and they had nothing else. Love listening to your father's retirement house. It's a labor of love and will be a damn... Yeah, dude, the shit he did to that house... Like, I don't want to go into too much detail, but when he was framing the house, I think we still did 16 inches on center for the frames, but we put in the 16 penny nails for the framing and everything. And then he wanted to put in the barn spikes, the fucking 14-inch barn spikes. And he's like, yeah, this will hold the house up even better. So you're going to drive in these 16 penny nails, and then you're going to put these in 2 on each side, and then you're going to take one of these fucking barn spikes and you're going to put it through the middle as well. I don't know what could knock that house down. I sincerely do not know. Like, that house it's way overbuilt. It is way overbuilt. They announced the big announcement for New World this summer. I've gone back twice now and almost wanted to watch you in Nyce. I don't think even if it's a great announcement, you could get me to reinstall New World. And so his take on release about small bad game and keep doing expansions, exactly what New World is doing. Exactly. And that's the thing is we've already seen it, and I sincerely hope that New World turns it around. I really do. I enjoy their combat. I want to PvP in that game. There's not enough people that really play to PvP with. So that's part of the reason why I'm not playing right now. I'm going to wait for the new stuff. I'm going to wait till the player base expands a little bit more. What was it? Let me pull this up. But I'm going to wait until server population, New World. Let's see what my current server population is right now. So I am on... Okay, no, I do have ad blocker on, and I am not shutting it off. I think I'm on Valhalla. Yeah, US East. Here we go. Here are the servers right now for New World. So Lilith, 858 people right now on a Friday night. Pretty sure we're in Valhalla, if I remember correctly. 857. Not bad. That's way better than the last time I saw. The last time I saw, it was like 300 people during prime time. So 857, that is not bad. But yeah, that's still less than 1/3 of the server size. That is not great. That is not great. So I do want to go back to the game. I do want to see it succeed. I do hope this PvP area or whatever they're doing, I do hope it works. But at the same time, Nyce has talked about this a lot, and I agree with Nyce's opinion. The people that played the first year of New World and they got fucked over by how bad the game was, they're not coming back. I have two friends like this, and I know this is just, this is extrapolating two personal experiences, but I have two friends that played New World on first release, and they will not go back to the game. They will not go back and play that game because it was such dog shit. It doesn't matter what they do now, like they're just burnt out on it. And the supplementing releases, they're better, but they're not a whole lot better. And so you just have players that they burn bridges on that don't want to go back. And so even if this next big thing is big, it's going to have to be successful for a while to get people to change their mind. It's like, I've never had this experience, humble brag, but it's like hypothetically having somebody that's cheated on you 5, 6, 7 times for whatever reason. The trust is just not there. It's going to take a while to rebuild that trust, right? Like, just if somebody lies to you, it's going to take a little while to build that back. The Wars of New World must be so lackluster with 800 people for an entire server. Came back after Brimstone, and my buddy did too. I started playing at Brimstone, and Brimstone was really good. I had a lot of fun in Brimstone Sands.
Thank you. We needed that.
So yeah, the TLDR for my opinion on what Blue said. If you don't want to watch, don't watch. That's fine. But I don't see this. They're forcing you to buy things. Like, you can't buy packs right now. You haven't been able to buy packs for 5 months. You can go back and you can watch all the live streams like I have. Never once will they say, hey, buy these packs. They're saying the packs are ending. So I don't know where that's coming from. I think that's wrong. I think as far as scope goes, I think he's wrong there. As far as it doesn't matter, release the game. Yeah, I mean, that's the way some people think, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, some people just want to pay attention to a game that's out. Okay. I'm going to step away ever so briefly. And I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to use the restroom. We'll come back. I figured I'd watch Richie's video. He tagged me earlier, and Richie said he was coming out with a video that apparently is very similar to one that I posted. And so I'm like, okay, I'll watch Richie's video and we'll see what's going on. Yeah, I'll be right back, guys. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm back. I am back. Let us do this. Make sure everything's working. Okay. Bumping this because I feel you should see this about New World in your farming comment. I mentioned for Ashes, they should do PvE, mostly gathering to help sustain during a node siege to bring in PvE-oriented gathers into a collaborative PvPers protecting their gathers, etc. My guild leader said that New World had this in alpha and they removed it. What the fuck, man? Like, seriously, you know what that reminds me of? Completely off topic, but I have played Helldivers in the last couple of months, and Helldivers has been a resounding success. Great game. If you guys want to try it, you should have, like, if you're apprehensive, I think it's definitely worth the money to play Helldivers, in my humble ass opinion. But when Helldivers came out and it reached the success that it did, you had former Bungie developers comment and say, we had an idea like this for Halo years ago and it was scrapped. They literally scrapped. The Bungie development team allegedly had like a Helldivers style game and they threw it out the window. And you hear that and you're like, bro, what are you doing over there? Did you watch Jimmy's video on MMOs? I did. I watched it right before this. An extra long else video? Yes, I did. I love Helldivers. Helldivers is good, man. It is a really good game. But you see stuff like this where people are like, hey, yeah, we're like some indie development game comes out and they try something. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of other bigger games are like, yeah, we're going to do this. Like WoW now has, like in Jimmy's video, WoW now has their Battle Royale mode, which is fucking great. That is great that World of Warcraft came out with a Battle Royale mode. That is an awesome idea. You can argue they probably should have done it sooner. Like, They probably should have done it sooner. They probably should have experimented a little bit earlier, but they still did it. And you gotta respect it, in my opinion. I think that's awesome. But yeah, overall I thought Jimmy's video was good. I thought his generalization of disliking an idea for a video game off of one fetch quest, although I hate fetch quests, I can't get to that level of hatred for something personally. Let's find Richie's video. Is it Richie SH? I'm pretty sure it is. Manage your expectations. Let's see what Richie has.
Doris Burke here, and
I'm pretty sure everybody in chat knows who Richie is. I shouldn't have to say this. Go subscribe, go like. Really good Ashes.
been known as somebody who could pass the rock.
Doris Burke is the best. She is the best announcer for NBA games, and I will not.
So let me assist you in saving.
We are less than 2 months out from the beginning of Q3, which means Alpha 2 could really be starting at any point in the next 2 to 5 months. With that being said, there is a lot of hype for what I am calling the ultimate turning point for Ashes of Creation. Nearly 8 years of development, 2 alphas later, and a battle royale, we are finally to the point where we can step foot into the real Verra for the first time. No alpha island, no map specifically designed for a battle royale, actual zones in the world map with those systems we were all promised years ago finally coming to life within. But with all that hype comes huge expectations. Honestly, I've never really felt so much hype behind an alpha to the point where people are talking about it like it's the launch of the game. But unfortunately, we are still at least a few years out on that. There will be a lot of eyes on Ashes of Creation this time around though. Over 100,000 players have signed up last we heard to play Alpha 2, and that number could have greatly increased within the ending of pre-order packs. We know that big time streamers will be looking at it. We know that the content creator program is supposed to be launching with Alpha 2, so it's going to be a massive moment for the game for those first few weeks of testing. I imagine that the hype will eventually die off again a bit when people realize what Alpha 2 really is. Creative director.
Absolutely. So I did a video similar to this. It's funny that we have Steven's head here at the top right when I paused. I did a video like this just a couple days ago talking about the hype for Ashes, and I said I think my title was it's not an early release game, and somebody literally commented on it and said yes it is. Where's it at? Here it is. Ashes of Creation's Alpha 2 is not an early access game. Yes it is. This is what we deal with. Like, Ignore what the developers say. Ignore what the developers have said for years. Ignore what you're seeing in front of you. This is an early access game. You just got to put those fucking blinders on and you got to just barrel ahead full fucking speed. That's what you got to do. You got to ignore all rational thought and just say, this is an early access game and that's the way it's going to be. And it's okay. Some people are going to look at it as early access and they're going to come into it and they're, you know, maybe they're Blue Squadron or they're not as informed as Blue Squadron even is. He's watched a lot of Ash's videos. He's actually more informed than most people I've seen. But you're going to have a lot of people that don't know much and they're going to be like, oh, this must be early access, because that's how games early on release games like this. And so what Ashes is currently posting isn't going to be like what a lot of people are seeing. And that's the interesting part about how the reaction is going to be taken by the community. Not the Ashes community, the gaming community. Flatus said his OnlyFan he subs to is Rich's feet. Alpha 2 won't be until September. I could see it. I think it's going to be August. Because, you know, I don't want to pick sides and I'm gonna go right down the middle. I'm essentially Switzerland. I'm saying August. I'll put in a good word for you else with the content creator program. Appreciate it. If y'all get in and don't, and I don't, I'll be DMing you guys about getting me better in-game asset images so I can craft better things in real life. Sure, absolutely.
Director Steven Sharif has said this several times now, but Alpha 2 is not a feature-complete game. It's not going to be as fleshed out as Throne and Liberty or The War Within beta. It's not going to be like New World's closed beta that we had 3 years ago. It's not even going to come close to any of these, even though you will see Ashes painted everywhere in the MMO spotlight the moment Alpha 2 comes on. Even those players watching will see things like this. Bugs are going to be a big thing in Alpha 2. You're going to see them all over the place. You're going to see things not functioning properly, things incomplete. It is what it is. It's a true alpha, and it's what Intrepid wants feedback on. What the whole point of this alpha is so that people can report bugs and provide this feedback to make Ashes of Creation a better game. Server and character wipes are expected, although Steven stated in the last development livestream, their goal is to not have character wipes. So there is that chance that the character you make on day 1 could be live on the last day of Alpha 2, but I wouldn't hold your breath, because there could be any number of situations that arise that requires Intrepid to pull the plug and wipe characters. They could encounter bugs that call for it, or they could decide they need a lot more testing on early game, and if not enough people are making new characters, well then you could potentially say goodbye to your old one as they force you to play a new one, because again, this is testing for the game. It's not meant for you to be rushing to endgame to do endgame content when it's not even there yet. Speaking of content, you won't see even close to the majority of the world map at the start. We've only seen the Riverlands in the desert in gameplay on stream so far, at least on Unreal Engine 5. We've seen a bit of a snow biome at the beginning of the UE5 update. We've seen the tropics in Alpha 1, so we've seen a small bit of what other parts of the world will look like, but we haven't come close to the actual full world map. And Intrepid hasn't even locked in what will be there at the start of Alpha 2. And I honestly don't want to see the entire map. I would love for them to be some surprise left come launch. From these zones, we do have a...
Yeah, so last I checked the Wikipedia a few weeks ago. I think they promised 3 biomes will be complete by Alpha 2's start, if I remember correctly. And I could be wrong. I think they said at the start of Alpha 2 there will be 3 biomes ready. And maybe it's 3 biomes throughout Alpha 2. I can't exactly remember. But regardless, what is there, 15 biomes or 16 biomes? There's something like that. We're only getting a portion of what this game will be. And when you look at this, I think if people are curious and they want to have an idea what Alpha 2 for Ashes is going to look like, it's going to be a more polished version of what PAX Day was last week. It's going to be better than, it's going to be a larger scope than what PAX Days was, but you're still going to have a lot of the same issues where it's a little bit buggy to load in. There are going to be crashes. You're going to have random glitches and stuff like that, but it's going to be a very limited feature game in a very specific area. Played Alpha 1, interested to see how far it's come. Awesome, man. Congrats. I am jealous.
available though, they won't be content complete. Alpha 2 zones are said to be 60 to 70% complete before it's Alpha 2 ready. And once they hit that point, I imagine you'll see them added as content patches. You won't see 64 classes, you may not even see the 8 primary archetypes ready to go come A2 launch, and you aren't going to see end game content, just progression up to 35 to start. You'll see things that represent...
Yeah, this is once again another thing that like people talk about. And so in another Blue Squadron video, he was talking about how he was comparing Black Desert Online to Ashes of Creation, 1-to-1. Like the graphics don't look as good, the combat doesn't look as good, this doesn't look as good, and I think I agree. But this is pre-alpha 2, and so if you're comparing, we'll go up to 1080p. Sorry. If you're comparing pre-alpha 2 Ashes of Creation to a fully finished video game, I feel like the team is doing a pretty good job. Like if you're comparing it in that way, I think they're doing a pretty good job as far as where they're at. And when you think about where we're at for archetypes, we've seen 5 of the 8 archetypes up to like level 30 or 35. We haven't seen any of the archetypes completely finished, and we do not fully know yet how all the skills are going to augment. We haven't seen them yet. They're going to do a full augment stream eventually. We don't know when that is. And my guess is we're not going to see an augment live stream until we're well within Alpha 2. And so all these different 64 classes, we're not going to see until we're further along in Alpha 2, in my opinion. We'll probably see, I'm guessing that we'll probably have 6 or 7 archetypes ready for Alpha 2. I'm guessing the Rogue will be... I think the Rogue will be ready. I'm guessing the Bard will be ready. I don't think the Summoner will be ready for Alpha 2. And so I'm expecting to see at least 1 or 2 more archetypes. Not expecting. I'm guessing. If I said expecting, that's the wrong way to put it. I'm guessing we're going to see 1 or 2 more archetype live streams before Alpha 2. And that is still just a small fraction of what the character creation is going to be. Like augment system, weapon system. Like we're getting a very dumbed down version of what the final game for this will actually be for Alpha 2.
and endgame content in Alpha 2 that aren't actually endgame at this point for testing purposes, such as freeholds, which come live will be level 50 testing. You might see some dungeons that maybe are meant to be endgame, but the levels scaled back just for the Alpha 2 environment. Obviously, as time goes on in Alpha, more content will be added via patches. Intrepid will drop things in as they're ready, getting more focused testing on those specific features when they feel it's needed. And we will all watch as the world of Verra slowly comes to life with the envision that Intrepid Studios has. But we will have a much better idea of what to expect in a few months, as Intrepid stated they will probably do a live stream to focus on Alpha 2 features. Going into Alpha 2 and beyond, though, will also be a good time for a lot of players to decide, is this the game for me? Ashes of Creation isn't your next World of Warcraft. It's not being built to be the WoW killer everybody talks about, and it's not going to be anything like Guild Wars 2 or New World either. While they may have a couple similar systems, that isn't the goal here. If you as an MMO player didn't enjoy Arcade or Lineage, well then you may not enjoy Ashes. If you didn't play those games, well then there's still a chance you might. Arcade and Lineage are what has inspired Ashes of Creation, and while they seem to also focus on evolving the genre and putting their own stamp on it, at its roots, a lot of the systems you find in Ashes of Creation are similar but updated for the new generation. It's not trying to take the top of the market by any means, and although that wouldn't be too hard right now because...
So, I'll say this. I'm not one of those people that thinks that Ashes of Creation is going to be a WoW killer. I don't think anything kills WoW. That's my opinion. But if any game is going to quote unquote topple the top MMOs in the game, it's not going to look like any other game that currently exists. It's not going to look like the current best games. It's going to be different enough. Like, I'm not saying like all the systems have to be completely reformatted, but it's going to stand out on its own. When you look at shooter games, when Halo first came out, Halo was revolutionary. And I know that I'm really going back into the well here, but the fact that you could shoot a gun and then throw a grenade with your other hand was revolutionary at the time. Like, if you played GoldenEye or any other game before that, you had to cycle to your grenades in order to get to them. Halo's combat system was very, very cutting edge at the time, and it really changed the genre of first-person shooters. Then you get into Fortnite, And Fortnite basically like blew away what battle royale games were. Obviously PUBG was good, but I mean, clearly more people like Fortnite. I mean, it's pretty obvious. So the point is Fortnite doesn't look anything like any of its predecessors for battle royales. It just doesn't. And so if you're going to want to like reset a genre or establish a genre, you need to essentially stand out on your own. And so a game that looks like World of Warcraft, a game that looks like Black Desert, a game that looks like any of these other games isn't going to function, isn't going to take over. Blizzard will be the next WoW. Yeah. So that's my perspective. And I think as far as the combat we've seen so far, Ashes of Creation's combat right now isn't going to reset the market on MMORPGs. So they're just not going to. The way their current combat is, it's fine. It's alpha 2, it's pre-alpha 2, so it's not great or anything. They're still going to be working on and iterating it, but it's not revolutionary as far as combat goes. Their systems could change the genre. And when you combine the systems with a good combat mode, that could change the genre. I think that's big enough and it's transformative enough to where it could. And even if it doesn't, it's not a big deal. Like as long as people are enjoying the game and as long as they have good retention, if there's a good amount of people playing it, enjoying it, that's all that matters. That's really all that matters. It doesn't have to be a top 5 game. It doesn't have to be a top 3 game. If it's good and people are enjoying it, if I'm enjoying it, I'm happy. AOC Battle Royale was mid. I never played it.
There's not a lot of good MMOs out there. Their goal is really to give you that classic old school MMO feel. It's very guild centric, it's meant to be social oriented, and while playing solo is always an option, it's going to be much easier if you have a guild to help you progress through. There is minimal fast travel, no group or dungeon finder, quests aren't going to be pointed out to you with giant markers and a path lit up for you to find your way. It's going to require you to stop and think and plan your path and forge your own story, which will happen over months and years, not days and weeks. You won't know for sure, obviously, if Ashes of Creation is the game for you until you really experience it. The hype behind it will make Alpha 2 a huge event. It will put launch day numbers way up there, with the inevitable MMO drop-off we see with player numbers a few weeks later with most games. Yes. But if you're going in expecting Ashes of Creation to be the next WoW or the next Guild Wars, if you're expecting Alpha 2 to be this feature-complete event used more as a way to build free advertising and publicity for a few months before launch, it's not going to happen, and you're going to be extremely disappointed when you see what is revealed towards the second half of the year. But most importantly, if you're on the fence about Ashes or unsure if this is a game for you, stick around, watch your favorite content creators, or play it for yourself when the time comes to make that decision, because even if it's not what you expect it to be, it could surprise you with some fun you may have breaking through that social anxiety to join a guild, siege a castle, and have one hell of a time doing it.
Good video, Richie. Well done. Well done. I'm not subscribed to... Oh my god. Okay, nobody saw this. Nobody saw this. We're all good. We're all good. We're gonna skip past that. Good video, Richie. Really well done. I'm so bad with subscribing to people. It's so bad. I'm so bad with adding people as friends also. I'm fucking terrible. Regardless, yeah, that's a good video. I think this is a really good perspective. Hidden Dagger in, what's going on? Did you see the mini leak for Bard on Discord? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So for me, I have it. I mean, with what we know now, I either want to be fighter rogue or rogue fighter. Typically when I play a game, like I like to be the fast, mobile, high damage glass cannon build. And so I'll probably go rogue. That's like where I typically lean. But I also like to be the in-your-face brawly boy. So fighter rogue will be my first character. But I absolutely am going to make a second character that's a little bit more group support based, and that will be a bard. I know for a fact my second character will be a bard. I have not seen it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about what this Ashes of Creation bard is going to be. I play a bard in Baldur's Gate 3, and I fucking love it. And I want that support capability for group-based PvP in Ashes. So I will 100% be a bard secondary for content. Busted posting clip in the Discord now. That's fair. That's fair. Thinking Rogue Bard. Fun. It'll be interesting to see how Bard augments work. Okay. Because, yeah, we don't know much about Bard augments, so I'm not sure exactly how the secondary... What is this? I don't need to see a guy's junk. There we go. Okay, so I haven't watched Nyce's video today. Let's watch this.
Introducing TikTok.
And yeah, if you guys have another video that you want to watch and want me to comment on, let me know.
A powerful new way to
Plan
sell
on going,
through live
hopefully
shopping,
streaming
creator
3-4 hours.
partnerships. I'm wearing this bodysuit from So Sleek and shoppable video.
Unskippable ads, Nice. This is a thumbs down. I'm sorry, buddy. Guys, Nyce, a friend of mine. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Nyce's video. Why Ashes of Creations builds are insane. Hoping you can break CC like an ESO. I think ESO CC mechanics are very good. I think they're very good. It's funny because I just made an entire stance on how like games shouldn't be like the others. And so people will watch my comment. Like I've seen other content creators react to some of my videos. They're like, oh, he's an ESO main, or oh, he's New World. He's a New World main. He wants action combat. No, not at all. I've always been of the stance that I am open to a lot of different, there's so many different forms of good combat. There really is. And so whether it's tab, whether it's action, whether it's hybrid, like there's so many different ways to make really good combat. It's just how you balance it, and it's how you get everything to like kind of mix in. Like Nyce and I have talked about this, but Throne and Liberty's combat is very, very similar to what I think Ashes of Creation's combat will be. And it feels smooth. For a tab target, cooldown based game where like you activate a skill and your character can weapon swap based off of what skills you activate, it feels very smooth. And so it feels very similar to playing ESO, in my opinion, even though ESO doesn't have cooldowns. And so just because a game has cooldowns doesn't mean it necessarily plays like it has cooldowns. Okay. So that's my perspective. Like I'm very like open to things, but as far as like CC mechanics go, for what I've played, ESO's CC mechanics, in my opinion, are the best. I love the CC 6-second CC immunity. I know Ashes wants to do like escalating. They want to do their escalating. The more you get CC'd, the less and less effective it is. And we'll have to see how that works out. That could be really good too. That could be really good. But from what I've played, I love ESO CC immunity. Don't like the way CC works in Black Desert. I don't know anything about that one. If you want to chime in a little bit more, let me know.
Oh. Nice, and I hope all of you, hello gamers, it's Nice, and I hope all of you big brain theory crafters are having a nice day.
That's me.
Today, I want to talk about build customization in upcoming MMO, Ashes of Creation. This will encompass weapon trees, skill trees, archetype choice, and class choice. We're still pre-alpha 2, and of course constant changes will happen with this being a work in progress and all, but I think we can already see the limitless potential of theory crafting.
Hold on. He's saying Ashes of Creation is a work in progress? How can you have an early access game in 3 months, guys, and it's a work in progress? That makes no sense. This makes absolutely no sense, Nyce. You need to go and redo this. Yeah, they're doing a diminishing returns. I'm joking, guys.
And build diversity that awaits us in a long-awaited test environment known as Alpha 2. First, I'd like to thank our YouTube channel members for the continued support. Also, we now dual stream on Twitch at Nyce Gaming TV, so thanks to everyone who subscribed there as well. Now let's get into it. Intrepid just premiered the Sand Squall Desert in the recent Midnight Magic update, and just like the fighter archetype showcase of the previous month, we got a decently in-depth look at both a skill tree and a weapon tree. Both of these are obviously work in progress iterations, especially the skill tree, but they provide a good insight into what the goals of the combat team are. Let's first establish a rough definition to contrast a weapon skill tree and an archetype skill tree. Your archetype skill tree will have your archetype / class active skills and passives. These are abilities, benefits, and passives that will likely exist no matter which weapon choice your character takes from build to build, with the obvious exception being that very specific scenarios exist, like a ranger needing a bow to use snipe or a tank needing a shield.
Generally thought you didn't know what it was. Sorry. I need to get a webcam. I'm extremely sarcastic. So this is a really good video by Nyce, and he beat me to. I have so many videos I want to do, and just like this is one of the videos I want to do, is the amount of build diversity that they're already showing. We don't know technically how much competitive build diversity will exist, but what he's talking about here, having weapon trees and having archetype trees, is very, very exciting for where this game will go.
Shield for a shield rush. Whereas a weapon skill tree will have its own progression system separate from your character's overall progression level to level. We first had a glimpse of this last year during that amazing Ranger stream when it was really bare bones, but now we see the great progression in the right direction Intrepid has made. The weapon skill tree offers a lot of customization and spec choice. You can focus on various procs and status effects, it will seem, and to make choices between things like more accuracy and additional hit in a weapon combo, or doing things like maybe you just care about investing your points into passives that increase your basic attack damage by 8% per level and increases your chances of that sought after, very satisfying beam proc. I feel
Nice.
The weapon tree passive is coming along very well, especially considering which stage it's at. And to realize that they understand that flexibility is needed in the tree at this point is very, very good. Now let's move on to the archetype skill tree. We've seen the archetype skill tree for the ranger, fighter, and now the mage. I would still like to see more opportunity cost and sacrifice here. I'm not sure if it's just the shape or me not knowing the typical amount of skill points available to a level 25 or a level 50 character, but something just isn't there for me yet. While the fighter archetype tree seemed impressive, I think that they can do just a little more. However, when you equate it to this stage in development specifically, it's actually impressive, I would suppose. I would like to see some scenarios in the skill tree where, for example, the ranger has a trap skill and there's 2 upgrades laid out vertically that all rangers will likely take if they're already taking that trap skill, right? But then I think what will give players a sense of satisfaction would be if there was then a choice, a fork in the road at the end of that skill tree, if you will, and you had to go left or right for the next and final upgrade, but could not go both directions. For example, the normal vertical upgrade will be upgrade 1 increases the trap immobilization duration by 2 seconds. Upgrade 2, you now have a snare after they get out of the trap. This reduces their movement speed upon exiting the trap. Then you will have that final upgrade where you had to choose between the 2 choices at the fork.
Okay, so I'm just going to say, of course a guy that plays a fucking tank will highlight a skill that snares for multiple seconds, right? Like this is just really on brand for tank gaming right here. No, this is, in all seriousness, this makes a lot of sense. This is how I like class trees or skill trees to work, because you have choices for powerful effects as we get further on
in the road, and your choices would be something like reducing your opponent's total evasion stats by 50%, and then you apply a bleed dot for 5 seconds. This will allow a more offensive approach, an offensive ambush style, and it will make sure that your follow-up attacks all hit because you lowered their evasion stats. Or at this fork in the road, there's an alternate path where now you can throw your trap from range, or now it does this effect, really just providing choice for the player. Choice, sacrifice, and opportunity cost is what gives players that feeling of, this is my build. And this can sometimes keep metas at bay or avoid having everyone running around with the same cookie cutter setups. Build diversity is very important, but more on that shortly. Knowing which weapon passives or which skill upgrade options better synergize with your build and what you want to do is in itself
no tank
a
chains in the
skill gap.
bombers.
What games have done this well and gave freedom of choice to at
PTSD.
least a well-received extent? My Ashes of Creation waiting room, better known as the Elder Scrolls Online, I feel did this well with having players choose one of 2 morphs, and are actually adding skill crafting soon, which will change the game forever. Diablo 4, despite its reputation, did have quite the skill tree with a lot of choices like most ARPGs.
Yes.
It had a lot of different modifier stats too, perhaps even too much. But the most infamous skill tree probably belongs to the Path of Exile crowd. And the upcoming Path of Exile 2, like its predecessor, boasts a very large skill tree. Let's listen to this segment that really impressed me when I heard it last year.
Well, in PoE 2 we have another major new system to introduce to solve these kinds of problems. And it starts, oddly enough, with weapon swap. Now, in PoE 1, weapon swap isn't really used much for its originally intended purpose. We imagine that people were going to be swapping in and out between different weapons to deal with whatever situation they were in. People just don't do that at all. And a large reason for that is because it's really, really awkward. In PoE 2, we wanted to solve all of that. The staff Octavian is using here has an ice mod on it that makes it great for when he's using his ice spells. But we would also like to be able to make sure that this build works just as well for his lightning spells. If Octavian equips his previous staff in his second weapon set, you can see that it appears on the character's back. Now, we're going to open up the skill screen. If Octavian opens the skill options for his lightning skills, you can see here that you can choose which weapon sets are usable with each skill. First, we uncheck set 1 from being used by his lightning skills. Then we go through the cold skills and turn those off with his lightning weapon. When we use Spark, the character will automatically switch to the lightning staff on his back and then use the skill. And when Octavian uses his Ice Nova, his character automatically switches to his ice staff before using it.
Oh shit. That's sick. That's so sick.
You can configure each skill for which set to use, or both if you don't mind which. We're on the passive skill screen here, and you can see that we are close to both a cold and a lightning cluster. At the top right of the screen, you can see that we have some weapon set specific points to allocate. If Octavian holds shift, he can allocate set 1 to the cold passives, and then allocate set 2 to the lightning passives.
Okay, really brief. So I haven't watched this PoE thing. I've never played PoE. I have a few friends that play and they really like it. It's not the genre of game that I enjoy, but this type of build diversity is something I really enjoy, and I've considered it for this reason. I just wish they had PvP. like that's my whole thing is like, you're going to give me this type of build diversity and I can't kill other people and get hate messages with it. That's ridiculous. But what I will say is, do you hear what the players at this, what the audience is doing with this? Like, this is why I like open development. The fact that you can listen to player bases, the fact that you can hear what they want, and then you come out with something like this that makes complete sense as a non-PoE player, and clearly the player base is like, fuck yeah, this looks awesome. This is exactly why open development is so great. And I'm not saying, I don't know if PoE does open development, but players that, development teams that listen to their player base is how you get cool stuff like this.
As we use our weapon swap, the skills allocate changes from one build to the other automatically. So whenever we cast the appropriate spell, the character's passives reconfigure on the fly to the correct build for that spell. But it certainly increases the number of options you have for builds.
So this is just an example of how players can get excited about a lot of build customization. Fun and intricate build design is something every MMO needs. I'd even argue it's one of the biggest factors that helps the roleplay portion of MMORPG. Yes. Build diversity in Ashes of Creation will have so many levels to it. So throughout this video, we've discussed skill tree choice and weapon combo choice. Now let's factor in weapon choices. Let's factor in your archetype choice. Now factor in your secondary archetype choice, which determines your class. Now factor in the type of gear you'll be wearing. Now factor in your racial choice, your racial augments. Factor in your in-game religious choice, which may have augments of its own. You factor in all of these, and you have one of the most intricate build crafting systems in modern MMOs. And I'm not even going to discuss how there is even more layers to your character itself, from guild choice, artisan professions, node location, and more. Things to really make your character different and separate it from others and make it have its own backstory. But I hope you found this video insightful. If you made it this far, please leave a like and make sure you're subscribed. Truly appreciate you listening. Please comment below how important theory crafting, build customization, and build flexibility is to you. Until next time, I'll see you next time. Peace.
Nice. Very nice video by Nyce Gaming. No, and I obviously I'm going to agree with Nyce on this. So we come from the same game, and part of the reason why I enjoy ESO for as long as I did was the fact that you had stamina and magicka based classes. I know hybridization happened a few years. We're not going to talk about that, but you had stamina and magicka based classes. You had all these different classes that existed. Was it 6 at the time? And so it's 12 total classes, magicka and stamina based. You had all these different weapon types, and then you had the different gear choices, and then you had your skill choices. And so you get to a point to where you can make so many different builds, and you can play a different class in so many different ways. And as long as they're competitive, enough, it makes it fun, right? And so some people would play a certain play style for role-playing based purposes, but obviously there will be a meta, and the meta is whatever the best weapons are, best damages, whatever. But in a rock, paper, scissors like game, metas being established, as long as there's hard counters, it's going to be really it's going to be a lot more balanced. It's going to be a lot more balanced from a quote unquote meta perspective if they do it right. And for that reason, so what I'm trying to say is, if you have a bunch of people that like are all stacking clerics and cross heals, right? They're all stacking clerics and cross heals, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go out there and do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're just not going to really die, and we're going to overwhelm you with the amount of cross healing we have and minimal amount of damage. If you have a specific archetype that counters them well enough, like fighters, for instance, if you can counter them pretty hard, it's going to stop people from wanting to run all one class or one archetype style groups for that reason, if it's done well. If it's not done well, then obviously you're just going to have people meta humping and everything, but hopefully everything's within 2 to 3 to 5% and keeps things competitive. But yeah, good video. Of course it was a good video. It's from Nyce Gaming. Is there anything else to watch, guys? I don't know if there's another video out there. ESO doesn't have enough anti-heal options. Yeah, I would count, whether it's anti-heal or too much cross-healing, however you want to say it, that exists, 100%. Let me go like this real quick. So I'm going to play this in the background real quick, guys. I got to do one thing real quick. I have to go into my personal email. But yeah, whether you want anti-heal, whether you want to minimize cross-healing, it's the same way. It's killing. You're still attempting to accomplish the same thing. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm gonna step away real quick and blow my nose. If you guys have any other videos to watch, let me know. We'll knock out maybe 1 or 2 more. If not, that's cool too. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. I got one more. I got one more in me. Let's do this. So I know Narc recently did a video on... Is it this one?
Time.
Not sure I have another video. I know there's one going out about... Double check. That was wrong. Massive revamp. Did you see the controversy on Helldivers 2 about the PSN account that people are mad about? I did not. You're gonna watch all this tomorrow? Oh boy. Dude, I'm like 3 hours in right now. Okay. Well, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is extremely funny to me. So the title is Are Ashes of Creation's Nights Dark Enough? So is the nighttime stream dark enough? And then the thumbnail is I'm torn. And I don't know why. I can't really explain why this is so funny to me, but I'll try to. But like, imagine sitting for 3 or 4 days. Like we just had our latest live stream 3 days ago. And imagine wanting to do a video talking about the nighttime stream, and you're sitting for 2 days. And you're like, okay, I got to come up with an idea for a video. Do I like it or do I not like it? Think, is this good? Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And you've thought about it for so long that you're like, fuck it, I don't know. That's the title. That's what I see when I see this. Like, I'm torn on if the nighttime stream is dark enough. Oh, I'm sorry. There. It's this thumbnail right here. This one. So we're going to watch this Narc video.
Hey, what up boys? So leading into this month's livestream, I was fully expecting massive improvements to Ashes of Creation's nighttime, and they certainly delivered. What I did not expect though was the interesting discussions we had around immersion, mechanics, and MMORPGs in general during our post-livestream discussion over at twitch.tv/Nargavess. But before we get into that, our beautiful patrons and coped out the wazoo Twitch subs and I would love for you to grab yourself a Kyola, because today we'll of course be discussing my opinions on the nighttime, but more importantly, I want to try and refine the feedback for this particular video on a subject that has been overlooked when it comes to the immersive design Steven and the team are trying to achieve here. Now, with all that bollocks out of the way, let's begin, shall we?
Darkness out the wazoo.
I think it looks great. Here's the question though, right? Does it look too dark? Is it too dark? What I don't like is the fact that I can't see the face. Now, is that a darkness issue, or is that the fact that the lighting in Ashes of Creation has still not been revamped? Is it a darkness issue, or is it the lighting issue? Because the lighting has clearly still not been revamped. That's not been done yet. That's still to come. I don't think it's a darkness issue. I think it's a light issue, the light issue, the lumen issue. Last month, or was it the month before, he did say that there will be significant lighting changes. That is still to come, my friends. That is still to come. Nobody's sitting there and saying that doesn't look like a good scene. It's just too dark in some areas, isn't it? That feels too dark. That's black as my asshole. Where's the light beams? Why is there no like light beams coming through, like what's it called? God rays, right? God rays. Why is there no god rays coming off of the moon through the canopy of the tree? Do you reckon that's something to do with lighting too? Because of PAX Day, right? Nobody's sitting there and saying PAX Day's lighting is trash. PAX Day's lighting is some of the best lighting I've ever seen in a video game period. Is that Ashes of Creation's goal here? To have PAX Day level lighting, maybe even better, because it's custom, not out-the-box Unreal Engine. Here's where I am. I think the skybox looks great, but I also didn't see anything wrong with the skybox from 2 years ago. How many times do you need to iterate and touch something up and change something and tweak something until it starts to take away from the effect, right? Sometimes you just got to leave shit alone, right? You know, sometimes, boom, it's that, hey, that looks great. Let's just leave it there, right? If you keep tweaking shit and keep adding shit, sometimes less is more, in my opinion. I think less is more. Always. Always. In 95% of situations, less is more. So I will admit, when he was talking...
So, what I'll say here... I can't believe I dived into a video about fucking lighting. But what I will say here is when you have a lower amount of light and the area is already dark and you have a hood or a cowl that is minimizing the amount of light that can come into that area, like he wants the face to be revealed here. If we're diving into fucking lighting, which is fine because that's what the live stream was about, that's fine. If that's what we're diving into, where is the light for this supposed to go to? Like, where is this light coming from where you're supposed to see the face? Like, if the light's coming from up here, it's not going to come down and then up into somebody's face. It's not like this being dark. Put a hoodie on, a really big hoodie that makes you kind of feel like a ninja almost. Put your largest hooded sweatshirt on. And then go into a room and shut all of the curtains and look into a mirror. And then see if you can see your face.
In my opinion, nameplates on, and then they talk RPG. And in 95% of situations, less is more. So I will admit, when he was talking about this, and he was talking about the nighttime, and he has nameplates off, I did look at this, and I did think to myself, actually, do you know,
the light is obviously supposed to come from the glowing one in his hand. Yeah, I mean, if he's by a fire, right? If he's by a fire and the reflection is coming up, then that makes sense. You think PAX Day's lighting looks terrible? The part that he showed, so running through the trees, it looks good. And like, this is going to be one of those subjective things, right? So we'll go back to, where are we at? We're at 307. Let's go back to his example for PAX Day.
Because of PAX Day.
So how, objectively, how is this really dark lighting right here? In my opinion, like, look how dark this character is. This isn't that far off the lighting issue that people had with Ashes of Creation, like 6 months ago. It's not that much lighter. Like, this is almost pitch black. So it's one of those things where when you look at it, you're like, okay, like that part I don't think is great.
Hey, right?
But
nobody's sitting there and saying
PAX
Day's lighting is trash.
Like, look at, we'll just mute this real quick, but look at how he's walking through and like, look how like the lighting is reflecting through the canopy. This is quite good. This part is quite good. But yeah, like if you're going to have a darker ambiance and you're going to have darker shadows and everything, like it being this dark, I'm fine with it. Like this part is good. Just that initial part where he's like, this looks great. That part I'm like, dude, this is like this right here. Like this is just a black silhouette. So that I don't mind their daytime is issue for me. Yeah, I'm not even saying this is bad. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying like this lighting issue, like with how dark this is what a lot of people had issues with Ash's silhouettes, is that sometimes they were this dark. But everything else is great. Like PAX Day is like lighting when you go through the trees here. It's great.
I did look at this, and I did think to myself, actually, do you know what? That does look okay. The problem is that Ashes of Creation is an MMO RPG, and an MMO RPG has this mechanic called nameplates. And nameplates is like a label above the creatures in the world to tell you what they're called. You know, that's just a normal mechanic. And then they talk about things like being able to turn nameplates off and being able to turn nameplates on. However, in my opinion, if this is the darkness that they want to go for in Ashes of Creation, then, in my opinion, nameplates on or off should not be a player choice. It should be always off, unless you click on the mob.
But why though?
If they want the dark to be immersive, if they want to go for immersion, then the game should not give players a choice to turn on or off nameplates. They should always be off.
Okay, so first of all, the nameplates are off. So the nameplates are currently off until he clicks
The game
on it.
should not give players a choice to turn on or off nameplates. They should.
So until Steven clicked on this nameplate, it didn't show up. And so if this is what you want, where like you want a little bit more immersion, whatever, I think I absolutely agree that if you don't want nameplates at all, you want it to be more immersive, you can absolutely do that. I think you can absolutely do that. I played ESO without a heads up display for a long time. Like people ask me why I didn't have, you know, cooldowns showing on my screen. And it's like, I don't need them. Like I literally do not need them. And so I understand this perspective, but I don't understand why you would want to limit the HUD from other people on purpose. Like if you want that, that's fine. It should have the capability for you to do it. But if other people don't want that and they want to be able to see what the character is that they're fighting, like let's say they're a level 10 and they want to know what level the thing that they're about ready to fight is because they're brand new into the freaking game, you should be able to know if you're going to fight a level 17. Like you should be able to know that what you're fighting is a level 17 something so you don't die and get annoyed at durability loss. That's your choice. That's your choice as a player. I mean, I don't like seeing health bars for groups of enemies. I prefer seeing every mob in the groups of health, just the one that I'm clicked on. Yeah, I like highlighting over and seeing them too. I like the fact, like what he's showing right here. I like this. I like that you just see ads and you don't know what they are yet until you look a little bit closer. I'm more than fine with this. All I am trying to say is if other people don't want this, okay. Like for me, this isn't a big deal. Because if other people have a different choice on what they want their HUD to show, then they should feel free to have their HUD show something different. If you want fucking pink and you want like every time you hit somebody with a sword, fucking sparklers and ribbons come out instead of blood, I don't care. That's how you want to play. Like I really don't care. So I don't know. It's your personal choice is your personal choice. I just wouldn't infringe on other people's personal choices for heads up displays.
The game should not give players a choice to turn on or off nameplates. They should always.
Yeah. Games not having variety or choices is always a good thing. Like we should just have one class. I'm sorry, that's hyperbolic. But regardless, I just disagree. I just disagree.
Be off. And if they go with that route, then I am 100% down with the nighttime being dark. Because the game will look like shite if players have got nameplates on. That's the biggest problem.
You're not seeing their game. Like you as a player, I am not over here watching Tilly's heads up display. What Tilly has for what his HUD is does not impact my gameplay in the fucking slightest. Tilly can be over here and he can have all the ADHD fucking spastic animations popping off all over the place. It does not impact what my screen is going to look like. So I don't understand. I don't understand. My HUD is always full of information. I want to know as much as I can. Yeah. And that's fine.
I've got with Dark Knights. It's immersion breaking to see a nameplate, so therefore I think it should just always be off unless you click on the mob itself. The problem is, if it's a player choice, then if you don't have nameplates on...
Yeah, if you don't want this, like, his stance is fine. Like, if he doesn't want this, that's fine. It's just saying, like, generally, universally, nobody should have nameplates at nighttime. It's like, I don't agree. I don't agree.
Then you're just gimping yourself. It's stupid. Commit to it or don't go for the immersive features. You can't have...
But yeah, like level 22, Sun Spirit Berserker. Imagine being a new player and you don't know what level something is by selecting it. In a game like Ashes of Creation that's going to have durability loss, that's going to have issues with dying. Like you're just ramping up the learning curve for newer players without necessarily needing to. If the game's already difficult, like you don't need to adjust a HUD for that.
a cake and eat it too. Choose one and commit to it, and then build the game around it, rather than giving everyone choice. Choice. You can do this, you can do that, you can fucking jerk off your mum, you can jerk off your dad, and everyone can do everything. Choose one and go with it, and build well-made mechanics around that. Make nameplates only appear in town, but then you got nameplates popping up all around the city as you're running around the city. It's just shit mechanics. I do see where you're coming from though. I don't know the solution. Here's my opinion though. If you're going for immersive lighting like this, then you can't have nameplates at the same time, because nameplates are a direct contradiction to the immersion that you're trying to build. It's like you're trying to have your cake and eating it too. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to please everyone by giving them the option, isn't that like one of the core philosophies of why MMORPGs are dog shit? Commit to one and build the game around that, instead of committing to everything, trying to please everyone. Commit to one or the other, and it looks like to me that you want to commit to the immersion. So scrap the nameplates, unless you click on a mob. You know, I like immersion in my games. I don't necessarily think that MMORPGs need to be immersive.
See this part right here. Unless you click on a mob. He clicked on the mob.
You know, I like immersion.
So, I mean, what he's talking about, like, look, we have mobs in the background without a heads up, without...
In my games. I don't necessarily think that MMORPGs need to be immersive. At the end of the day, it's an MMORPG, a game that you play 90% through the UI anyway. I don't necessarily think MMORPGs need to be immersive. That's what Pantheon have tried to do. They did the Dark Nighttime for EverQuest boomers. For these people that are obsessed with EverQuest, who are just obsessed with this pointless shit. What's the point in darkness when nameplates are like that? Just don't get it. Guys, if you haven't got nameplates turned on in an MMORPG, like, what are you even doing? I play MMOs like a single-player game. I just like the immersion. I just like playing MMOs like a single-player game. That's what you come across like. Because you don't care about the overall mechanics and what most people will be forced to do. Most people will be forced to turn on the nameplates, because by not having nameplates on, you're missing extremely important information. Imagine all nameplates just popped in, popped out as you're running through the world based off distance. What about fade away? I see that comment come up quite a lot. How can you make a 3D feature that is on a separate layer to the world immersion? How do you make that look good?
I can't anymore. I can't. What he wants is, I mean, I don't like what he's saying. What he wants to be able to see a bar unless you click on, like, only if you click on the character. So this character's clicked on, you see what their health bar is based off of clicking on them. See this Minotaur way back here? You can't see a bar. There's no bars popping up the way that he's talking about for Steven in this live stream. So what's the issue here? Is it a video? Are we just doing a video talking about how this is wrong, but it's exactly like what you're saying? Is that am I being inceptioned right now? Am I being gaslit into believing that what's being shown isn't the same as what you're asking for? Like, am I wrong here? Like, he's saying you only see this when you click on their character, which is exactly what's being shown.
Good.
So the example that he showed, which is a good reference, this nighttime, like, randomly seeing these, yeah, that completely removes the immersion. Absolutely. I agree with that. But then we go back to here and look at all this. There's a Minotaur up here. There's a Minotaur here. There's a Minotaur here. There's a Minotaur here. Where is this bar that he's worried about? It's not there. It's not there until he uses his cursor and he clicks on him. Am I too far? So now he's going to come up here, and he's going to use his cursor, and he's going to click on him. Click. There's the... That's what he's saying, right? Narc gets very baited with his audience on Twitch, and he's huffing his own farts because his chat likes it when he does. Okay, well, and that's fine. But he's literally saying, like, the issue with this is this, and it, like, he's talking about what's actually happening. That's why I'm confused. I'm like, am I missing something?
It's not... It doesn't follow the same art style. It's a 2D element, and it's floating in the world, and then it's fading in and fading out. Could that look better? Maybe. Show me it first. Would that look better if it was fading in and fading out as you were running through the world? At the end of the day, I still don't think that if you're going for an immersive world that's trying to immerse people into the game, then I just don't think nameplates should exist. That's my opinion. How would the game feel if there was no nameplates, full stop? Again, it's an MMO, guys. It's an MMO. You can't not have nameplates. You can't not have nameplates. But as usual, I am just one nerd, desperate for a good MMO. And hey, as you made it to the end of this video, you're either a copium addict who's been watching for a while, or a new viewer who's taken a liking to the recent format. And I just want to briefly close with a statement about the direction of the channel lately, because the response has been overwhelmingly...
Okay, are you ready for this little YouTube? Here's some YouTube stuff for you, okay? His content.
You can't not have nameplates.
747. Okay? Your video's got to be 8 minutes. It's got to be 8 minutes. So what does he do? YouTube Masterclass.
But as usual, I am just one nerd, desperate for a good MMO. And hey, as you made it to the end of this video...
The end of this video, 7:55. It doesn't cut it, guys. It doesn't cut it. We're not at 8 minutes.
You're either a copium addict who's been watching for a while, or a new viewer who's taken a liking to the recent format. And I just want to briefly close with a statement about the direction of the channel lately, because the response has been overwhelmingly positive, far more positive than I expected. For many of you, it's impossible to come and drop by the streams, and that's okay. I stream a lot and at a busy time. However, I felt for a while now that a lot of our discussions go to waste simply because they're lost in VODs that only get about 2k views. So me and my team wanted to figure out a way to try to bring these discussions to you guys. I am by no means saying the usual format that you've been used to is being retired. The usual format is perfect for more precise discussions and speculation. However, as I've been streaming for a whole year now, I felt like I've gotten rather good at presenting myself live, and doing it live has also improved my presentation skills in general by a huge amount. The current issue I'm dealing with inside the pandemonium that is my brain is that as Alpha 2 approaches, the usual format will unfortunately become unviable, as I just simply won't have time to make them and stream full-time at the same time. Therefore, the conclusion that we came up with was to continue to refine and improve this new format so the quality of the videos do not drop when Alpha 2 arrives. I have a lot of amazing plans for content for the Alpha 2 launch, and I wouldn't want you guys here on YouTube to miss out on them, so I really appreciate the warm reception to this new format, because them being easier to edit allows me to create way more videos that cover way more topics that the devs can now see. But this is just the start of the benefits. It's also allowed...
This is excellent. This is just really good filler here. Regardless, yeah, like you have to plan how you want to stream. Yeah, well, regardless. This is impressive Narc content. Like this is what you subscribe to Narc for, where he bounces back and forth on a topic for 6 to 8 minutes. And you're just not sure what's going on. He's talking about how people who have all nameplates on will be able to see people better at nighttime, so it's not really an option. Everyone will just have them on for PvP. Sure, but what they showed is not that though, right? So they didn't show nameplates always on. They have the click to select. So is nameplates always on an option? If it is, you have your choice to do so. regardless, if somebody like, I want to explain my perspective on this. Okay. Let me be clear. I like the hybrid camera personally, and I'll try to explain it as best I can, but I like the hybrid camera. I know with some playstyles, the hybrid camera isn't as efficient as the tab target mode is. I know that it's not going to work as well. I'm okay with that because that's how I want to play. I know that I am taking an efficiency loss by choosing a camera mode for that reason, because that's how I want to play. I think these heads up display options are fine. If you don't want HUDs on, if that's not what you want and you want to be able to, kind of be a little bit more immersive until you select on who somebody is, I think that's fine. I think the thing is the thing with characters in PvP, if it's going to function the way like ESO does, the minute you see a skill or two, you know what they are, right? Like the minute you see a specific skill, you know exactly what the archetype is. And so whether the whether the HUD shows what their name is or not, doesn't really matter. You're going to be able to say, oh, wow, look, they just casted a heal. That's a fucking cleric, right? Oh, they just went invisible and they have a bow. Oh, that's a ranger. They're using camouflage. They didn't go invisible, but they're so far away, it looks like they're invisible. Like, you're just going to have other cues outside of a nameplate. And so whether the nameplate exists for PvP or not doesn't influence how I fight people at all. Like, how I fight people is all influenced on what their class is. And so the nameplate doesn't show me that. At least I don't think it will. And I could be wrong. But regardless, like, if you don't want to have nameplates, that's fine. Like, I understand the immersion aspect. That's okay. But if other people do, I don't see what's wrong with that either. I hope that's a good comparison. I think it is, but I don't know for. I guess I just don't know for sure. But yeah, like, sometimes you make choices off of what you like, even though you know it's not the most optimal. And so if you don't want name tags up, even though it's more optimal to do so, then don't do it. It's okay. I don't know if I have any other video. Let me check my Discord real quick. I think that might be it. And yeah, like, there's no right or wrong answer to this. I just don't want to restrict how somebody else plays, right? Like, that's my perspective. If somebody else wants these things, fine. I may not want them. Just because tab target is better doesn't mean that I'm going to play tab target, right? Like, just because warrior or fighter is the best in slot archetype doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily play fighter. Like, you can make suboptimal choices and just know that it's suboptimal, and it's fine. We will like the video though. I do like how he is rolling out his like, being able to stream full time and still have a YouTube audience is very tough to balance. And how he's currently doing this, it makes a lot of sense. And so although I may disagree with that specific video, bringing those conversations forward into their own short form YouTube video is a good way to do it. I think this is a very good way to do it. So we'll watch one more. One more Narc video and then we'll call it a day.
Hyundai Kona versus Subaru
Okay, take it easy there. Narc's entertaining? Absolutely. Absolutely. He is the best content creator in the space. Like, as far as enjoyability goes for live streams go, he's the most entertaining. Now, whether or not I agree with his points, that's up for debate. Like, we're all different players coming from different perspectives. I find myself agreeing with him less than other people, but it's good to have those differing perspectives. It really is.
Hey, what up, boys? So it seems Ashes of Creation cannot stop catching the W's lately, as their latest 30-minute showcase was another fantastic display of visuals, gameplay, and depth, showing off the intricacies of the weapon skill tree, the progress on the mage archetype, and the nighttime lighting in a biome we're seeing in-game for the first time in Ashes of Creation's history. But before we get into that, our beautiful patrons and coped out the wazoo Twitch subs and I would love for you to grab yourself a Coca-Cola, because today I am once again going to be breaking down this nearly 2-hour showcase into one nice neat little package for you to grind, roll, and smoke for that delicious copium high. Now, with all that bollocks out of the way, let's begin, shall we? Okay, so instead of skipping the reminders this month, I will mention just one of them because it's about an upcoming AMA with Mr. Steven Sharif and 4 of our esteemed content creators on May 10th. So please, if you want to ask any questions or review...
Check that out, guys. Check that out. AMA coming up in, was it 5-6 days now? 6 days now. Jamie Chaos, Lore Forged, this Nyce gaming fellow who I've never heard of, and Vladis. Excellent. This is going to be, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really looking forward to see this Q&A. And the best part is I know these content creators, they're all going to ask different questions. And so it's not going to all be hammered into one specific thing. You'll get questions about a variety of different things. And so I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's great that Steven is doing this. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
View the questions that are coming up, I have linked all their socials down in the description below. Now, on to the meat of this delicious copium sandwich. Before we jump into it, I just want to give a brief warning to the guys who don't want to be spoiled for Ashes of Creation, because you're about to see some in-game footage that isn't the Riverlands. I highly recommend, if you don't want to be spoiled for this alpha game currently in open development, please avert your eyes, as you're about to ruin your whole experience and therefore make following this development journey utterly pointless. As mentioned at the start, Steven began his journey in a brand new biome this month, the Sand Squall Desert, featuring 4 new devs, 2 of which are fully focused on the lighting, which is of course a heavy focus for this month's showcase. So if you're going to comment on anything in this video, please let the devs know your thoughts on the direction that they're taking the nighttime lighting. However, there was also a very heavy focus on the weapon skill tree progression, with some additional information being released later in the month. We will of course be covering that as it's released. Before we deep dive the changes and new approach to weapon combos, let's touch upon the new skybox and nighttime lighting. As you can see, Ashes of Creation's night is significantly darker than most MMORPGs. Prior to this stream, I was very against dark nights, as I felt like an MMORPG that features mechanics like tab targeting and nameplates make the immersion of a dark night completely pointless. However, after seeing the direction Intrepid are going and seeing the UI in this stream, I'm kind of wondering if Ashes of Creation isn't meant to be played with nameplates in the first place. This raises some interesting immersion or balance concerns, but we'll save this discussion for a future video. Overall, I am pleased with the direction the team are going with the nighttime lighting, and the skybox, of course, looks absolutely fantastic. It's really hitting that high fantasy setting that people are excited about. So continue doing you, Intrepid. You're definitely on the right track. Before we move on, I want to briefly touch upon the new tech that they discussed for this skybox. As the devs mentioned, the Ashes of Creation's world is utilizing some interesting techniques that actually allow the skybox to rotate around the world of Verra, simulating a real planet. The reason why this is significant is because the devs mentioned that no game in history currently utilizes this technique, and there is a major gameplay mechanic involved with it known as constellations. For now, there's not too much information out there about constellations, but if you want to learn a little bit more about them,
See, I liked both. Like, I liked both skyboxes. I thought this looked really good. I thought this was light enough. Like, I thought this was dark enough. I don't care, I guess, too much
We'll link
about
the wiki
whether it
page,
looks
which
good
is
and
chock full of information
how
down
dark it
in the
looks at
description
nighttime.
for you. Moving on to Wand now. One of the major changes that I noticed with the Wand is the addition of beam-type attacks at the end of the combo, adding a lot of depth and also opening up some interesting dynamic effects and gameplay for other weapons currently in development. I won't talk in too much detail about the intricacies of the actual skill tree itself because it's far too in-depth for today's video. The following stream I'll be doing where we deep dive is a far more appropriate place to discuss that, so come along and join the discussion if you want. What I'll do is I'll instead just mention that these larger nodes within the skill tree are offering us important choices that change our gameplay. It is without a shadow of a doubt very interesting, and almost feels like Ashes of Creation is leaning towards the Path of Exile level of customization when we stack weapon skill trees, class skill trees, and the augment system, so keep this in mind when you form your opinion about this when giving feedback.
So I hope so. I really hope that they get closer to the Path of Exile style skill trees than they do anything else. But at the same time, they're not close to the Path of Exile skill trees. I get that perspective and combining and mixing different skill trees into making different builds. Like I could see where that's similar, but yeah, it's got to be fleshed out a lot more to get to that point.
To conclude, the mage also received a lot of updates to the spells. One in particular, Ball Lightning, has had a significant revamp, and I am personally pleased with the direction of the changes. It is not 100% there yet, both mechanically and visually, but I am pleased with the changes regardless. In addition to this, we also got some updates to the visuals of the fire spells, and also another major update to the volley spell, which now looks absolutely beautiful. Great job, Intrepid. Within the Q&A segment, there wasn't really anything too significant to mention, but
you click the target and all skills find their way, not one miss. Yeah, it's tab target. So you tab and select your target. Depending on the game, like so Throne and Liberty, for instance, if the mobs are too high of a level, they won't allow you to attack them. So hypothetically, let's say you're like a level 6 and you go in to attack a level 10 mob. If they're too high of a level, every skill will be dodged because you're just not skilled enough to fight them. You're too slow. You're basically like a baby trying to fight a full-grown adult. So some tab target games have like those types of mechanics. But yeah, the way tab target works is there's no like skill shots like action camera. It's all in flux and placeholder. Yeah.
But there was an interesting tease about next month's showcase, which is one of Ashes of Creation's major features, the Node War system.
We had a lot of progress that's been made towards our Node War system, which people are going to be seeing within the next month. Node War is obviously a big repeatable loop of gameplay that is going to be central to Alpha 2, and it taxes our network. We've had a lot of optimization efforts. That's part of the playtesting that PI has been a part of, helping us to kind of profile some of that network work that needs to be done from a optimization standpoint. A lot of progress made on all of those fronts. We are currently in milestone 9, and within milestone 9 we will be a feature complete.
Okay, so Node Wars, node governments. So nodes is for those of you guys that don't know, nodes is like your cities or your villages in Ashes of Creation. Node governments may declare war on another node and rally citizens to the cause. This mutually flags the citizens of the warring nodes, including their allies, as combatants. Social organizations quests will either be cooperative or adversarial based on the war status of their parent nodes. Vassal nodes cannot declare a node war on their parent node or any of their vassals. So Node Wars is like the fact that it's PvP, you have my attention. The fact that it's one of the larger form of PvP, you have my attention doubly. I'm really looking forward to this. He didn't say next month, he said within the next month. Is Node Wars going to be the mid-month stream with Maggie? I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'll have to go back and re-listen to that. 1 second. Did I miss that part?
To mention, but there was an interesting tease about next month's showcase, which is one of Ashes of Creation's major features. The Node War system.
We had a lot of progress that's been made towards our Node War system, which people are going to be seeing within the next month. Node War is obviously a big repeatable loop of gameplay that is going to be central to Alpha 2, and it taxes our, net.
Okay, so within the next month. Yeah, I would assume it's the next live stream. But if it's earlier, I'm cool with that too. Node wars can be declared at any time, but the objectives will only spawn during server prime time. So objective-based PvP events such as node sieges, castle sieges, guild wars, and node wars will occur within a primetime window somewhere between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. server time. This is subject to testing. Guild wars and node wars can be declared at any time, but the objectives will only spawn during this. Players can kill each other at any time during the war, not only during server prime time. So if you're hopping on later on at night, like let's say hypothetically you have kids and you can't get on for a node war, as long as the war is still going on and you guys are flagged hostile, you can kill whoever you want. You can't do the objectives, but you can kill people. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Node wars affect reputation between the nodes. Quote, we have conditions that you can set between nodes with regards to either nodes being friendly with each other and acting trade alliances, or they can declare war on nodes similar to how guild wars may function in different games, where those citizens become hostile to each other based on the player government that's elected in the particular node. So those systems all cater to allowing a conflict that's meaningful, that also provides a non-imbalanced relationship between stronger guilds and not as strong guilds. So going back, like piggybacking back to 2 hours ago when we were talking about Jimmy's video, node wars is repeatable content that will not be able to be matched by most theme park MMOs. This is the type of content that Ashes of Creation has that is very tough for other MMORPGs to replicate. And this is evergreen with players. Like this is player created. This is player. All right, take it easy, MobTech. You have a good night. But this is player created and player driven. And this is going to be fresh evergreen content. And so instead of having a dungeon roll out quarterly where you play the dungeon 10, 20 times and you get bored out of your mind of it, node wars will be different every time. Node wars, node sieges, guild wars, like these will always be different because you'll have differing players, different amounts of players, different types of wars, different skills of players. This variability keeps this type of gameplay fresh. This keeps this type of game having more replayability. Like part of the reason why I played ESO for so long was because Cyrodiil, I never had the same fight. I never repeated the same fight. Not once in the years of playing that game did I ever go into Cyrodiil and have the exact same fight. And that is really valuable. Server prime time. Objective-based PvP events such as node sieges, castle sieges, and guild wars and node wars will occur within a prime time window. Okay, this is subject to testing. Guild wars and node wars can be declared at any time. Yep, node-to-node reputation. Node-to-node reputation includes trade agreements and wars between the nodes. Completing mayoral commissions will reward node-to-node reputation. So then you have leadership powers, mandates, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, it's going to be a good stream. It's going to be a really good stream. Throne of Liberty sieges are Zergfest. I hope ASC doesn't take that direction. I think they will. I hate to say it, but yeah, I know they want to have objectives within these sieges to where it's not just a Zergfest, but there will be large aspects that will be Zergy. They said that they want to have certain side quests where smaller groups of players go in and complete certain side missions for these sieges. That's what they've said in the past. So there should be big parts of large scale PvP and smaller scale PvP. I think they're trying to get a mix of both, or at least they've said that in the past. But yeah, I think the primetime sieges, you should just expect a Zergfest. But all the other times of the day, you can just go kill citizens. You can just go kill other people in the other node.
network. We've had a lot of optimization efforts. That's part of the playtesting that PI has been a part of, helping us to kind of profile some of that network work that needs to be done from a optimization standpoint. A lot of progress made on all of those fronts. We are currently in milestone 9, and within milestone 9, we will be feature complete when it comes to our entrance criteria for Alpha 2. And in milestone 10, we will be polishing and essentially, making that stuff ready from a player perspective. And bug fixing is a big part of that, obviously.
Intrepid purposely treated this month's showcase as more of an overall catch-up on feedback the community have given over the years in regards to the feel and immersion of their world. Before concluding, I just want to give you guys a quick update on where Intrepid are on the upcoming classes for Alpha 2, as Stephen did talk about them specifically.
People are wondering about Bard, Summoner, and Rogue.
The Bard is is currently in phase 2 of its development, which is essentially finalizing its visual effects, and we will probably have a showcase for Bard within the next few months.
Yeah, but Stephen, mate, what about the fucking Rogue, bro? To conclude the stream, we have a brief art update, which I will blitz through, showing off some artisan outfits with the male and female chef, then going back to the classic cosmetic mounts and creatures with the Stargazer, which looks very close to the concept, in fact. The next piece was some very interesting concept, showing off the Renkai armor progression, giving us an in-depth look at the implications for Alpha 2. And finally...
Hold on.
Look at the implications.
Okay, why is this tier 5 one? Okay, they're both tier 5. I was gonna say this one looks way better than this one in my opinion. Hell, even this tier 4 looks better than this tier 5. Obviously, this is subjective. But give me the points.
For Alpha 2. And finally, we got some ALAR building concepts, which isn't very interesting. Sorry guys. And that's pretty much everything from this month's showcase. As mentioned at the start, the 4 content creators for the upcoming AMA all have their socials linked to the
Check it out, guys.
description, so please check them out if you want a more refined blend of copium. And come join us live right now over at twitch.tv/Narcoverse as we deep dive the live stream frame by frame, because we're high on copium.
I thought he was going to drag that out further. That's the perfect way. 8 seconds of dead air to make. Yeah. I was going to say, this is going to be the slowest outro in history. He had to do 30 seconds here.
As mentioned at the start, the 4 content creators for the upcoming AMA.
Impressive. That's impressive. We'll leave a little like. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was fun, guys. I had a lot of fun reacting to live streams. I don't know how this weekend's going to play out. I'll try and stream one more time this weekend. We'll see if I'll actually play a video game or not. I kind of want to get back into Elden Ring, to be honest. Re-hone my skills before the new DLC goes live. But regardless, I'm going to end this here. I hope to catch you guys in the next one. I have a video coming out tomorrow. A few more Ashes of Creation videos coming out this next week. And then, yeah, we got the AMA with Nyce and company here in about 6 days. So I'm going to end this here. You guys have a good one. See ya.